Crossover. Oh, killer crossover. Just crossover. It just crossed him over. Danced another victim to the crossovers. Cross him up and sit him down.
All right, time for the crossover. It's brought to you by Everlow Concrete Repair in Omaha, everlowconcrete.com. Happy Waste Management Open Week.
Oh, my goodness. Can you believe it?
That time
Nothing else going on.
Here we go.
Rory's going to break my heart this year.
Are you going to continue to think that Rory's going to win a major tournament?
So the last 8 major tournaments, I have placed $10 on Rory McIlroy to win that tournament.
And?
I've lost $80.
That's right. Tough.
So, you know what? Do you know what we're doing?
Can't be great odds either.
Do you know what? Well,
he's probably one of the favorites every time.
That's the problem. You know, it's like he wins the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. He wins the Charles Schwab. He wins the Farmers Insurance. And then he goes up and he's on the 17th hole of the U.S. Open.
Poopy pants. Sorry, Rory. Golf. Wow. I love golf. Somebody's going to make a hole-in-one at the 16 this week.
I watched golf, NASCAR, and the Grammys yesterday.
Oh,
what a mixed platter.
What a sports day.
And college basketball, men and women's college basketball.
What was going on in NASCAR?
They had their first race of the year at the Bowman
exhibition.
Yeah.
So
it used to be the one they used to have at the Coliseum.
So
now it's in Winston.
And like it was like a hit. Like everybody could hit each other. Like there was no penalty for hitting.
Does that make Daytona not this week, next week?
No, 16th.
Yeah.
Not this
Week
weekend,
after
next
Super Bowl.
weekend.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
I used to love Daytona.
Then what happened? Why did you fall out of love with Daytona?
Well, Dale died, and
you couldn't root for Junior.
Yeah, Junior
won it the next year.
Yeah,
it's one of the best sports
the
stories ever.
It was great when Dale Jr. won, and
that was it.
That was kind of it. After
maybe
that.
you were out when Ryan Newman went upside down.
Yeah, I used to really be into NASCAR. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe I just lost the
Season's
capacity.
a little long.
I'm in it now because I was in it. I started getting into it last year, and I started liking this guy named Chris Buescher. And then now my friend works for Chris Buescher's racing team, RFK Racing.
Is he on the pit crew?
He's like in the HR media type deal, whatever.
Okay.
So he he's like, he goes, "Are you a Buescher fan?" I go, "Now that you're working for him, I'm the biggest Chris Buescher fan you'll ever meet." And so now I'm a number 17, baby.
Chris
He
Buescher.
had a bad race yesterday, but it's okay. NASCAR. I had KFC and Miller Lite watching NASCAR yesterday.
You had KFC
to eat, or were those the cars you bet on?
How was KFC?
It was great. I got the 6-piece combo, 6 tenders, 6 pieces of original recipe chicken, and then it comes with 2 sides.
Nice. I do like a famous bowl.
I've never had any. I've never.
I do.
Is that the popcorn
That
chicken
thing
nuggets
just
with the
seems
mashed
like you're
potatoes?
digging in for a heart attack.
Disgusting.
It is. It's horrifying. I tried to give my child a little bite of mashed potatoes yesterday.
How'd that go?
She was not a fan.
Oh no.
I ordered Taco Bell.
She was like, "What is this? This isn't mush."
But has she been having
Mushy.
some type of mashed potatoes though?
Well, I mean, kind of. I mean,
Yeah.
all of her food, right? Well, I mean, but part of her food is puree.
Yeah.
Right. And so we put her at the thing, and she just makes a huge mess out of it. So it's like, why not try to give her a little scoop of mashed potatoes?
Yeah.
And her face was
disappointed to say the least.
And then she kind of went back in and just, I was like, maybe you could get used to it. So we'll take it slow. But mashed potatoes was the first real actual food I think that
All right.
I tried to give her.
I ordered,
which is right for the Happer family.
I ordered Taco Bell very, very late on Friday night and then fell asleep when I got to the apartment.
Wow.
So I just wasted money ordering Taco Bell. Just down the drain. Woke up in the morning, walked over. Someone had taken it. Just real disappointed.
Really?
Yeah.
It wasn't sitting on the.
I woke up at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And I go, I forgot to grab my Taco Bell. Let me go and see if it's there. And I walked on over and it was gone. So someone had seen. Now, granted, there was a 3-hour delay between.
They could probably. I mean, you could probably ask them Hey, I never got this. Could you make it again?
Oh, no. It was 4:30 in the morning when I woke up. I was just getting it out of principle.
But you bought the Taco Bell. You are owed the Taco Bell.
I guess. I guess, yeah. And then it was funny. There was like the DoorDash person tried calling me through the apartment phone. You could just see the pictures of them calling with the Taco Bell just like held up, and I just never got it.
That's a really bad move by you, man.
I never got it.
You left a DoorDasher hanging?
No, they just dropped it. They were there. They wanted me to come and get it, and then I was asleep, and so I couldn't get it.
And they brought it back to the restaurant?
No, they just put it down at the front of the door.
Oh.
I'm talking at the front of the door.
I got you. I thought you were talking about at the Taco Bell.
No.
Okay.
Tough stuff.
Hey, I saw your tweet, and it was timely last night because after the Nebraska basketball game,
Grammys.
I went from watching the Grammys on the small, where I wasn't paying as much attention.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, let's go to the big one. And I actually texted someone. I'm like, it's on CBS, right?
Is it on?
Because there was like a 5-minute commercial break.
That's right.
And I'm like, where did the Grammys go? So I actually turned the channel and I looked at the guide and I'm like, no, I'm on the right channel. Whoa.
It's so bad. And
Whoa.
then
They are the
after
equivalent of touchdown, commercial,
Yes.
kickoff.
No, but
commercial.
it's worse because they have longer commercial breaks, like you said. It's like a 5-minute deal. And then they will come back and say, the Grammys continues after this. That's literally it. And it's not even like the host of the show. It's just the voice person. The Grammys will be back right after this. And then there's a 6-minute commercial break. And all of a sudden, you're watching 11 minutes straight of commercials.
I thought they were going to end at 10. And I'm like, now it's 10:30. We haven't gotten to the
I had
song
to turn
of
it
the
off.
year.
I turned it off.
The guide said 10:30, and at 10:15 they said still to come, and they rattled off like 4 things. And I'm like, there's no way you're getting out of here at 10:30.
I turned it off after the. I always, for whatever, I sparingly watch these things, but I always, without fail, seem to catch the montage of the people who have left us. Always catch that.
You always get that part.
And so after that, they took a long commercial break, and then they came back and said the Grammys will be back after this. And then they took another long commercial break, and it was during that commercial break that I decided I was better off probably turning off my television.
I get the commercial break there because it would be tough to have.
You can't follow it.
Yeah, you can't go, okay, now here's SZA. Okay, now
Sure
that'd be a
you
little bit
can.
rough.
And here's Trippy Red.
Sure you can.
Here's Charlie XCX wearing no clothes
nothing.
at all.
And literally just,
Yeah, what's up with all the naked people?
I don't know, man.
What's-
I'm not complaining.
That's
but
a good poll question. What's up with all the naked people?
Yes
That's
or no?
what a side. What's with all the naked people?
What is up with all the naked people?
Do you think that'll start a trend?
So Kanye wasn't
I
even
hope.
invited, but then he brought his naked wife.
Man, I mean,
Technically, she was
that
not-
is a big
Technically,
party
she
foul.
was wearing a mink coat,
yeah.
but then somehow the mink coat got taken off.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how Tate McRae responds.
Oh. I don't think she's gonna be naked.
Shoot.
But I think
again,
she pulled it
horny
off
morning
well.
show.
She posed well for the camera. Like she didn't appear to be
How
shy.
are you?
Dan says that Kanye was invited. Did I mishear the news? So Kanye was
No, I
invited.
got an email that said he was escorted out.
But he was escorted out only after he presented his naked wife.
But they're saying that he wasn't invited to it at all.
He's an advertiser, though. He should have been invited.
Didn't he do a collab with Jimmy Carter? Because Jimmy Carter won a Grammy last night.
Jimmy Carter?
Jimmy Carter won a
Jimmy
Grammy.
Carter, yeah.
Like Kanye's out there building houses, like Yeezy brand homes.
Peanut Farms?
For $20?
Jimmy, it was a audio book. He did an audio book, and Jimmy Carter won for his audio.
Oh,
book.
look at it.
Dan is disproving all of the rumors.
Dan has all the facts.
So Dan is saying that he was not escorted out, and that is not true. He was allowed to attend the award show.
I got an email. Look, Kanye West. This is from Barstool Sports.
Maybe
it's
that's
not.
what. But Dan is saying that that's fake.
Maybe not the most reliable source
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Literally, the top Barstool Sports headline is Kanye West and Bianca Censori were escorted out of the Grammys after showing up uninvited.
Well,
Yeah, but I don't think if you're uninvited, you get that far on the red carpet.
If you're Kanye
you're
West,
Kanye.
I think
You have a naked
Yeah,
woman.
but man, don't they have like pictures? Don't they have pictures that the security guards like, do not let this man in, and especially her.
Yeah,
she's naked though.
So E.T.
Well-
reported that Kanye West and his wife were escorted out of the Grammys after showing up uninvited.
Well, I
Dan versus
imagine
E.T.
the three people at the front and center table, Taylor Swift, Jay-Z, and Beyonce, did hand a picture to all the security guards that said, do not let this man in.
Yeah.
Have you seen this man?
What's Kanye been tweeting lately? Is he still on there?
Is that a question? It's a question I ask myself often.
Let's see.
What's Kanye been up to?
more pictures
Is it
of his
just a
naked
naked-
wife?
Yeah.
Oh, this is
that a company?
weird.
Is that a company computer or
What
is that
a weirdo.
So
Man, Kanye had some great music. Not anymore, though.
Yeah, I would agree with this.
Hey, he had one that Creighton used to play all the time. Then it got canceled.
I know.
It was a great entrance begin the game song.
Yeah, it was almost as good as This Is Budweiser.
That's why they kept it for 10 years.
Hey, speaking of that, that somebody found that commercial and tweeted it out the other day.
It's so good. It gets me hype every time. It gets me so fired up.
I mean, that's old school Creighton at Civic Auditorium and the old Jays logo, like the original scoreboard at the Quest.
My God. Yeah. The shots of because there is one on YouTube and they've updated it. They've put different clips in there. But it's got Dancing Grandma in there. Remember Dancing Grandma? Oh my gosh. That gets absolutely fired up every time. That's the new power. Yeah. Kanye says, "Hey kids, Twitter is a great way to express yourself and crash 3 companies at once." 7.7 thousand retweets.
All right.
Also, is he poor or broke or poor or rich? Because I keep hearing mixed. Like one year he's rich, one year he's broke, one year he's rich, next year he's broke. I don't know.
Last week he said, "I am once again valued at $1 billion.
I am rich again."
Yes. But I thought he got broke again.
It's almost like Nebraska basketball.
Yeah.
You're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. What are they?
You like roller coasters?
I love roller coasters. Yeah, you show up at the Grammys, you're naked. What's going on?
I don't know. I think if they played naked yesterday, it'd be better than what they were wearing. I mean,
that is a good take.
No, it's not.
They were so bad.
They were so bad.
They were so bad.
Riley
Wooster
looked like he was about to play the Cobras in the Jungle Gym. I thought Average Joe's
for a moment that they had a problem with their uniforms and they had to wear their practice jerseys. That's what I thought was happening.
You like the diagonal logo and number combo?
I like uniqueness.
It's uniquely bad.
They won in it. I'd wear it. I hope they wear it again Wednesday.
I think they're going to keep wearing, because didn't they wore their jerseys for Black History Month like 2 years ago, like the entire.
Their home ones are really good for that.
Yeah. The home ones were great.
Yeah,
the home ones were awesome.
Yeah, they and then they never stopped wearing them.
Yeah,
they just kept.
They just kept wearing them. I was a fan of it. I hope they just bring those back.
I didn't see any graphics or anything like that, but I missed I know these are for the ones they wore last night were for Black History Month.
I don't think they announced.
I didn't see how.
Yeah, they did not. I don't think there was.
There's a reason why they didn't announce what the jerseys look like. All right,
the other fashion.
because we're not celebrating that anymore.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you, President
right.
T.
And we just
I didn't say that.
We just cut off all funding to
uniforms.
To South Africa. Kanye West tweets, "Bleep reading and anyone who can do it."
Retweet.
And anyone who can do it.
That's like me.
Poll question. Can you read?
Reading.
Hey, poll question. Can you read?
I don't know nothing about libraries.
That's a deep tweet.
Bleep reading. And if you can read, bleep you too.
That's a deep tweet. I mean, just think of everything that's involved in that tweet.
Yeah, he really
covers a lot of bases.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was still tweeting.
Do you think that'll be someone's high school graduation quote?
Yeah. This was Kanye's announcement that he is valued at $1 billion from Twitter on Saturday, where he ripped off many tweets.
Okay.
Trump's back in office. Ye's back a billionaire. The world might just be okay.
It might just be. It might.
Okay.
Every little thing's gonna be all right. Bob Marley.
Do you think Kanye West and Antonio Brown have ever met?
Have to, right?
Find out if they tweeted at each other.
Oh my God.
Now, that would be.
You're right.
That would be a podcast that I would listen to.
You would?
Yeah.
I'd make some popcorn.
CTA.
Isn't he AB_84? Something like that?
Yeah.
I don't think there's an underscore.
Well, his latest tweet is about Jimmy Kimmel.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not probably safe for.
Many people are tweeting about this. In fact, Dark Toaster tweeted, "I need a podcast with @Kanye West and @AB84. The internet would melt."
Did you see what is?
That's your burner.
No, I saw his Cam Newton tweet.
Look at his Jimmy Kimmel tweet.
Antonio Brown's. God, this is so bad. This is so bad.
I don't see it.
Yeah. How about the guy How about Will Smith's kid who showed,
Oh my
showed up
God!
with a house?
he had an Emmanuel Acho and Joy Taylor tweet.
Oh, of course, of course.
That's great.
We're on Grammys fashion today, right?
Yeah. Do they do that anymore?
you-
Where they make the whole article of who won and who
Oh
lost?
yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, oh, hey, 15 hours ago, Antonio Brown, whenever Kanye posts on X, ... and it's a picture of Mark Zuckerberg clearly checking out that woman's rack.
AP's a big award guy. He likes giving out.
Well, he made his own
awards.
award show.
A lot of
the days of the weeks of the months.
Mhm.
You know, do you think he makes individual plaques for all these people?
I don't know. That wasn't no NBA trade. That was a drug deal.
Did he say he posted?
All right, I gotta stop looking at these. I just really enjoy. He had a.
He's on one, man.
He
all
posted
the
a
time.
picture of the guy with the house on his face. That was pretty. So, what was the messaging behind that from young Jaden to wear a house on his head?
It's art.
Is he trying to have a statement about like the housing market or something like that?
He's trying.
I don't know.
I'm
I don't know. People have so many takes. I watched the Grammys for 10 seconds last night, and everyone was talking about the things that they wanted to talk about.
They should. A guy won the Song of the Year for dissing a fellow artist who's a pedophile.
Who he claims is a
Claims is a
pedophile.
pedophile.
And the
Yeah.
entire industry was screaming that song and singing it and dancing to it.
Heinz has a mustard commercial.
That dude,
They
Had
gave
the-
him a songwriting award.
he had the song of the year.
It's
And it wa-
hilarious.
and it was about that guy who makes great music, but
It's taken down the chin, though.
yeah, it's
I
been
mean,
tough.
like Canada had a bad weekend.
Well, I'll just wait till
Canada
this.
had a rough.
Just wait
weekend.
till this Sunday.
Oh, well, the fact that CBS let Not Like Us go,
Yeah.
like they didn't really edit it.
Oh,
Then the Super Bowl is like all full on.
yeah.
It's the only song he's going to play. He's just
Just
going to loop
5
it.
times.
Loop
No,
it 5 times.
There's a good
Hey,
Antonio Brown
hey,
tweet. It's a picture. He says
Gary.
Luka to the Lakers, and it was a picture of James Corden, in a Lakers shirt.
He is. We give him a lot of crap, but he's a really good. S posting, like the word we're not allowed to say
Mhm,
posting.
Yes.
He's really good at that. Like he is a prime. Like there are like nerds and memers who follow him who are big fans of his work.
Oh, here you go. Here's the graphic from Nebraska basketball on the uniforms. Inspired by the artistry, resilience, and cultural significance of quilting and the influence of community leaders, we honor Black excellence with these asymmetrical designs. And it highlights the down the side with the checker,
Oh, okay.
and then obviously on the front it's pretty asymmetrical. There's an N in a place.
Oh.
There's a number in a place. They're in different places.
I don't mean to bounce around from topic to topic. I'm sorry, but I have the explanation behind Jaden Smith's
Oh,
$4,600
Jeez.
castle headpiece.
oh, that's it.
Is it
That he
because
wore.
You can get that good of a deal for a gingerbread house to wear in your head.
he comes from a broken home and so he's got to put it back together on his head? Is that what it was?
Maybe now this is the BS like artistic description, and then I'll give you the real description.
Sure, go ahead.
This creation embodies the brand's essence and origins, drawing inspiration from films and vampire legends, as well as historical narratives. The Vampire Castle headpiece is not merely a fashion accessory, but a symbol of eternity, sensuality, and resilience.
He's a big fan of the Addams Family.
yeah,
yeah.
coming to a pawn shop near you.
Wow.
What's the real explanation? I just want to be different and look cool, so I put a fancy ass house on my head.
It reminds us of the importance of understanding our origins, the need for personal renewal, and the courage to remain steadfast in our dreams and ideas.
It's a good reminder.
Yeah.
You know what?
I needed
When I
that.
looked at that hat, I thought of that exactly. I just thought about my dreams and my renewals and how to be steadfast. Watching Jaden Smith walk down the red carpet with a $4,000 hat like an idiot.
Many people said it reminds them of a house in the video game Minecraft.
It reminds me of a house, that's for sure.
And then Gary asked why I don't like LA or Hollywood. Yeah, why don't you like these guys, Matt? That's why. That's why.
I'm gonna.
They just have their own personality.
What if I came into the show tomorrow and I had a house on my head?
I would want you to explain the significance.
I'd be like, that's cool. Are you marketing that?
Yeah, I'm not trying to make a statement. I just like it.
Oh,
I mean, look at how the person that had the corn head, they probably just showed up.
That's
and
true. People were like, well, that's weird. Does it mean anything? And they're like, no, I just like corn.
so I'm seeing this for the first time.
Like cheese.
Seeing this for the first time. I didn't know it was a chin strap. I thought it was just on top of his head. I didn't.
Oh
know
no,
it
it's a
was
full face cover.
I didn't know it was a fully encapsulating headpiece, if you would like to call that. He looks like, yeah.
It looks like a house.
Ooh, Myles Garrett has requested a trade.
Yeah.
Yes, he has.
Screw you, the NBA. We got to make some noise.
Graphic and everything.
I asked Matt this earlier. Do you think that Sham's greatest scoop is what happened Saturday night, or he was the first person to report that Trump had COVID?
Was he really?
Yes. Remember how way back, like OG COVID,
How did he get that piece of information?
So he explained.
Not how did Trump get COVID, but how did he get that info?
Get that?
So like after things like slowed down, someone like it might have been Kay Adams goes, that tweet that was so out of left field.
Yeah.
He goes, oh yeah, I had a friend that was with him. And he goes, hey, Trump has COVID.
Wow.
And so
Shams
he
is
tweeted it
connected everywhere.
Shams is connected everywhere. I used to share a gym with the man. Very nice guy.
You were hanging out with Shams?
We've
You
talked.
were one step away from the president.
We talked. I was 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I know Shams and I know this guy, so I know the president. No, great guy. Very nice human. You know, just I'll tell you this right now. When he was working out at the gym and I was by him, he would do his set and then immediately grab his phone and just be texting for 2 straight minutes and then put it back down, do his set, pick the phone right back up. I said his biggest scoop was on Saturday because no offense to Donald Trump, but he's not averaging 25, 12, and 6 on a regular nightly basis.
Wow.
You
He
know?
could. He's pretty tall.
Wow.
Barron might go to the NBA.
Yeah. He's
Also-
even taller.
Do you think NYU is trying to get him on the basketball team?
Does NYU have a basketball team? They
I
do.
assume
How much do we think Luka really weighs?
255 pounds.
So the Mavericks, somebody with the Mavericks who they must just really hate him.
Yeah.
Said he's 260 right now.
No, they said 270. They were
said
like,
270?
they were like, yeah, he got
Oh.
up to 270, and then he got off the plane yesterday in LA. He's like, that guy's not 270.
Well, he's 6'7".
Yeah, like he's a big guy. He
Yeah.
could be 270 and carry it well.
Yeah.
You
He's
know,
not like 5'11".
Can you imagine?
like Ryan Kalkbrenner is probably 300 pounds, but he looks skinny.
That's a skinny.
That's a
300.
great take.
You know,
You're probably totally correct.
he's got
This
a lot
bones-
of place to put it.
Bones
Yeah.
weigh a lot. You know,
Bones weigh a lot.
bones weigh a lot.
Google, now consider the source here. Google
It's not
says
Barstool.
Ryan Kalkbrenner is 7'1", 270.
270.
That's still hefty.
Yeah.
Well,
When
you
I-
would never
270,
know.
you get traded to the Lakers.
When I got up
for peanuts.
when I got up in weight, my
Anthony Davis.
my friends started texting me NFL athletes and NBA players that I weighed more than to
nice.
shame
you?
me. You know,
That's good.
they're like, you weigh more than him and you look nothing like him.
Did that help you?
It did.
Do you think on Huskers.com they'll update heights and weights before spring?
No way.
Oh man,
Yeah, I love that.
I want to see Heinrich.
Thomas.
One guy is
Thomas.
one quarterback is 6'3", 215.
Yeah, well, I want to see the other quarterback too. What's his weight?
Thomas Fedoni apparently shrunk 2 inches while being at Nebraska. Apparently, whatever they're feeding them at the brand new Big Red or Go Big facility, it makes you lose height. Went from 6'6" to 6'4".
Wake up, eat breakfast.
Matt and I hung out with Heinrich Friday night.
We did.
A
Heine,
couple thousand of our closest friends.
how was he
Yes.
doing?
He was going great.
Looked very, very chill.
He was filming a TikTok.
Usually is.
Yeah.
Did you see the finished product?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that there's quite the star-studded event at
It
the
was
Omaha
A
Supernovas.
little celebrity row there
It
with
was.
Bud and
Dayton Raiola was there.
Dylan.
In Dayton.
Dayton Raiola and Bud Crawford.
Why don't the
Harper.
Raiolas just move to Lincoln?
I don't know.
They got to have a.
I mean, can you
They
imagine?
got a place.
Can you imagine if that became if Dom's? They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got a
If
place.
Dom said we're moving to Lincoln and we're bringing Dayton with us, Can you imagine the recruiting that would go on?
Oh my
Well,
God.
well, you're talking about like if he's a
Yeah,
quarterback
one
at Lincoln
year.
East
He's
this
got
year.
1 year of high school football.
Which high school would he go to? Southeast, East,
West Side.
Well,
Northwest,
geographically, we're
South?
close. We're in the
Some Omaha
zone.
school.
Well, if
Yeah.
they live downtown, you just got to go to Lincoln High.
No, well,
Lincoln High had Dane Raiola as their quarterback this year. That changed Lincoln High a little bit, wouldn't it?
that'd be incredible. That would be
Well,
one.
I mean,
I'm happy
hey,
to announce that I'm a Lincoln High link. The next chapter.
The missing link.
I mean, there
the
was
missing 8.
there
links.
was a former Lincoln High product that was living in Lincoln that was playing in Omaha last fall before he went back to Lincoln area.
Okay, I'm following this. Okay, there was a Lincoln High
Kid
product
transferred from Lincoln Southeast.
transferred from Lincoln Southeast.
Did
to
make it through the whole year at a school he was playing here in Omaha, and then transferred back to Lincoln.
Wow.
So he could go to a school in Lincoln or in Omaha.
He could.
per
It's not
ring
that far of a drive. People commute.
per Ring magazine. Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford have reached an agreement for a mega fight in September.
How many times has this been reported now over the last
This
several
is
months?
from DAZN Boxing. Canelo versus Crawford per ring. The two pound-for-pound superstars will face off in Las Vegas in September.
I'm just gonna wait till the next time he's in the ring.
You know what? Till the bell rings.
Hop in there. We'll see what happens.
My policy on boxing is I don't believe it's happening until the bell rings.
That's right.
You know, until they go do. I don't think it's going to happen.
Exactly. Until they go
So let's
do-do-do.
see.
Do-do-do.
The weekend would be
It's just in September. So then, well, we got to figure out: is it
At
an
Memorial
Allegiant?
Stadium.
Is that
Well,
Las?
Nebraska has all home games in September this year,
Well, no, he
except
said
for
Vegas.
I said Vegas. It's in Vegas, so it's either T-Mobile or Allegiant Stadium. We have to
do it in Lincoln the weekend that Nebraska
Las
plays in
Vegas
Kansas City.
Raiders.
The Kansas City economy
schedule
Would not be happy about this. All right.
so the
We-
weekend that would
we have to
be last weekend of September.
That's the Michigan game, I think, isn't it?
September 20th.
I
The
don't know.
last weekend they're off.
I don't know the schedule at the back of my hand yet.
I'll get you. I got
You got a pocket?
Can I get a magazine? Can I get a magnet?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
we're
get a
getting there.
magnet?
We're getting there. It's only February. You guys have great afternoons.
you too as well.
A lot of ground covered. That's the crossover, powered by Every Level Concrete Repair in Omaha. At everylevelconcrete.com. It's Monday. We'll start things off next.
They're writing 4. Because, I don't know that yet. Yeah, I think
It's the Connor Happer Show. Are we sure we want to do this?
Could you, make an announcement that we're ready?
It's the Connor Happer Show on 1620, The Zone.
All right, welcome in. Happy Monday. It is the Connor Happer Show here on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Whoop, sorry, get Matt Rhule off there. We'll get him later. If you're watching us on YouTube, a special appearance for Matt Rhule just there. Josh, Nebrasketball is good.
Why'd you hold it so long?
It's good. What do you think? They're good.
They're something.
They're good.
Right. They do the opposite of what I think they're going to do.
I can't believe it either. I can't believe it. Ride the roller coaster with Nebraska basketball.
They played really well with those jerseys that were far too tight.
Yeah. Too tight? That's your complaint against them?
Yeah.
I just thought they were ugly.
I don't have any opinion on what they look like. They look too tight. I don't know what I think.
Wow. Well, you went with they're too tight.
They look. Do they not look really tight?
I thought they looked the normal amount of tightness. I just was bothered more so by the design of them. But you do it for a reason, I suppose. Hey, but welcome to the show, everybody. Speaking of, I can't believe it. Oh my goodness, where were you when the Luka to the Lakers trade broke? I haven't watched much NBA at all this year, but when I saw that, I said, "Excuse me," and I had to wait for a second tweet, and then he was like, "Yeah, it's real," and I'm like, still don't know if I believe you.
You're saying it's real a lot,
Shams Charania. Not sure if I believe you, and then it just kept going, and then it became reality. So. Yes, we will talk about that briefly, momentarily. Well, I have the same take as basically everybody else does in the situation. A look back at over the weekend. Rocco Watch has ended. The watch has ended. You may stand down, Josh. Rocco Watch is over, and he is in. He is in.
We got him.
There was Matt Rhule talked on Saturday. We'll have plenty of videos from over the weekend. He was like, I think we got 126 people on the roster right now. And then everybody was like, well, I only count 125. What's your deal? Maybe he was counting Rocco as one of the people already who made his commitment on, what was that, Sunday morning? So we'll hear from Matt Rhule. Nebraska has a new special teams coordinator similar to an old, well, not a special teams coordinator, but an old coach at Nebraska. The guy's name that everybody brought up right away. Why not go get Mike Ekeler? Mike Ekeler is back, and he is going to headbutt a man with a helmet near you. I think Nebraska is pretty, this is pretty exciting. They got the juice guy on the staff now. Every staff needs a yell guy.
Yeah, sometimes you just need a little...
You got to have the yell guy.
Injection of energy.
Talk about Nebraska basketball. Connor's Grammy wrap-up.
Yeah, I can't wait for this.
I love it.
This will be good.
I love the Grammys. I watch them every year. And then I watch the commercials, and then I stop watching. Creighton basketball wins over the weekend in one of the luckiest things I've ever seen. Let's call it how it is, Josh. Yeah, I don't know how that happened. But... they are now 9-2 in the Big East Conference, which is, I believe, tied for their best 11-game start ever.
That's right.
This team, it's going to be a wild ride to finish up the Big East and the Big Ten season as well. Today on the show, Mike Schaefer will join from Husker 247 at 11:30. Sam McKewon will join at 1 as usual. We'll talk Huskers with those guys, and we will be lucky enough to be graced with the presence of one Michael Severe in studio. I figured he's going to be here anyway. Michael just sometimes just pops in during the show.
That's right.
Michael, why don't you come in and chat? Let's put it on the books.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk Super Bowl and New Orleans and football and all those things with Michael as part of our Super Week coverage powered by Moose Roofing and OSI Oakland. That's the lineup, powered by the Rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard. Want to hear from you guys? 402-951-1620 on the hotline. You can call or text that number. Tweet at Happer Show, at Connor Happer, on the JTech Instructions on Twitter feed. Email Connor, Josh O at 1620thezone.com on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox. And we say good morning to the YouTube streamers. Hello, everybody. Chance asks, is Connor talking about Rocco from Sesame Street? No, he's not. He's talking about big old offensive linemen, road graders.
Ooh. We need some real estate movers in that unit. It's time. Just people to move some furniture around.
Dudes who can push some people around.
Yeah.
I like that too. I would have preferred a tackle, but you take a guy who's been a starter for the last couple of years at a team who just went to the national championship. People forget Notre Dame was in the national championship, Josh.
That's right.
So here we are. How was your weekend?
Oh, weekend was great. Hung out with all my favorite coworkers.
Yeah.
On Friday night.
Except me.
Well, you were busy.
I really wasn't. I just needed a night off.
Mm-hmm.
I needed a night to not be busy.
Yes.
That was my thing. So I apologize to all of our coworkers.
Caught a super.
Although I was receiving many texts from many of my coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like I was there in a way.
Well, you were there in spirit.
I was.
Mm-hmm.
Got a Supernovas game.
Yeah.
Sat amongst the stars.
What an atmosphere. It's the real deal.
Excellent. That was it? That was all you did this weekend?
Yeah.
All right.
Relaxed Sunday. Ran some errands on Saturday. Very mundane things.
Okay. Very good. I just wanted to check in and see how it was doing. You don't seem that fired up about it. You don't seem that excited about it.
About
having a weekend, about having the last 2 days.
I had a weekend.
Come on, we gotta be fresh and energized. It's Monday. Look at all the topics that we have. Ekeler's topics.
I watched the Royal Rumble. On
who
Saturday. Roman Reigns' cousin, main event Jey Uso.
Oh, did a lot of people have that on their card? Okay.
It came down to him or John Cena, and we all thought, well,
we know how this is going to go.
Here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
So now the guy who shouts yeet very loud.
Really? That's his bit?
That's his bit.
He still says yeet? Isn't that from like 15 years ago?
I have no idea.
People were yeeting stuff a long time ago.
Long time ago, yeah.
Long time ago. Wow. He's kept yeet alive. Mm-hmm. That's cool. Now, what was my suggestion for the Royal Rumble? That I remember I fixed the Royal Rumble on Friday and I had a great idea and you were like, I actually kind of like this. And then we never talked about it again. It was a great idea.
I'm sure it was.
Yep. It was an excellent.
Completely forgot.
Perfect. Excellent. And Josh, of course, watched the Grammys and enjoyed every single part of it.
It was so funny. They just kept giving Kendrick awards.
Yeah. You love this. You are all the way in on this Drake Kendrick thing.
It is hilarious that a rap beef has now reached critical acclaim. We're going to have rap beef at the Super Bowl.
Do you think Drake can sue him for slander and libel?
He's trying to.
He should. He should.
Hey,
his name has been drugged through the mud on this situation.
Aren't we on the same record label? Doesn't my record label have an obligation to protect me in some way?
Here's what I say. Kendrick is being mean.
Oh.
I don't support mean people. Don't be mean.
Careful. Care about you.
I'm rooting for the little guy in this situation. In this case, the little guy is Drake.
I don't like that. I don't like when you say that.
Why?
I don't like when you wrap your arms around Drake so easily.
What's wrong with Drake?
He might be a bad person.
That's only what the one guy is saying. There's no hard proof behind that.
I saw him tweet weird things to Millie Bobby Brown when she was like 11. So there's a little bit of confirmation bias there from Kendrick.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't think you could just say stuff and have there be no proof behind it. You better come with the facts. That's all I got to say.
Maybe that's what he's going to do on Sunday.
Maybe he'll just
Here's the proof.
He'll get up there and he'll just start, putting pictures up or something like that.
Banners fall from the Superdome ceiling with just pictures.
At that point, I would probably have to be out on Drake, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that would probably do it for
me. But only then.
All right. Thanks. Welcome to the show, everybody. We're off and running here on a Monday. We'll talk about the news from the weekend when we return. And in the 11 o'clock hour, we'll recap a big weekend for Nebraska. Like I said, we'll still talk about Creighton. Oh, also, I have one more topic. Ohio State losing both of their. I mean, we're kind of busy today, so we'll see. These things are sort of evergreen. I want to ask about the difficulty now in this day and age of college football of being able to do something like win back-to-back championships. Because there's this little thing that Ohio State is going through right now, and it's called, I just won the national championship and everybody will pay a lot more money for my players and my coaches. But specifically their coaches, who they've lost both of their coordinators now over the last couple of weeks, as Chip Kelly is now the highest paid coordinator in the NFL. With the he's going to the Raiders, Josh.
I knew that. I didn't know he's going to be the highest
paid $6 million for an offensive coordinator in the NFL, and
$6 million.
He doesn't have to recruit it anymore. And he doesn't have to deal with any of that crap. So we talk about that all the time in the NFL. You win, you get a really tough schedule, and all people pay more money for all your players and your coaches and things like that. Well, the same is coming down to college football. In college football's quest to be NFL light. All right, off and running here on a Monday. Back after this on 1620 The Zone. Well, Josh,
Connor,
how much do we talk about the NBA on this show?
it's not a ton.
No, not very much at all, and that will continue. But this is the sort of trade that kind of transcends the NBA because it is so stupid. I cannot believe how stupid this is. And that leads us to our I can't believe it of the weekend.
We told you we were going to do it.
Yep, and we just so happen to be gifted with this beautiful, beautiful thing. Our I can't believe it of the weekend is the Dallas Mavericks trading Luka Doncic, one of the one or two best trade assets in the entire NBA because of his age, his skill level, and all the things in between. He's 25 years old, and he has been traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. So I see this happen on Saturday night, and I'm like, wow, what in the world? This is kind of crazy. Who does this make sense for? The answer is the Lakers. But then you get into the details of how this whole thing came to be, and it's truly, truly incredible. And the only real takeaway that you can have from the Dallas Mavericks trading away their generational superstar, face of their franchise, to the Los Angeles Lakers of all teams for one singular first-round pick and one singular Anthony Davis, who, as we've talked about on the show before, horribly injury-prone and not necessarily like the best locker room, clubhouse guy. Don't necessarily love the way he plays basketball for what his body, what you think he should be when you look at him. It's like, hey, somebody tell Anthony Davis that he's 7 feet tall. For him,
generally the 7-footer just goes out there, bees 7 foot tall, and
you got an advantage pretty much on everybody. He's like, no, you know what? I'm going to do the things that I'd be able to do if I was 6'3". I'm going to stand out on the 3-point line, and yes, I will give you some pretty solid defense. Imagine actually trading, like I said, probably the second best trade asset in the entire league, behind Victor Wembanyama. Do you have any disagreements with that?
No, not really. No.
Right? That's trade asset. You're talking about age.
Age is one of the key factors there.
Age, and you're projecting a little bit of stardom going forward. It's him or Wembanyama. It's probably Wembanyama first, or as we called him last week, Hector Banana Bread. You do this without really shopping him, engaging with one singular team over a couple week period. And the return is an aging, often injured superstar. One of the worst things I've ever seen. People were doing their equivalents across all of sports. The baseball community came up with like Bobby Witt Jr. for Mike Trout. I say like Bobby Witt Jr. for Manny Machado. That's just my general distaste toward Anthony Davis and the way he plays basketball. But I'm thinking about people who are absolutely young, bright stars, future of the sport, haven't even reached the peak of their powers yet, traded for a borderline has been not quite washed up, but like back end of the prime former superstar who is injured. That's why Manny Machado came to my head. Obviously, Mike Trout absolutely fits the bill on that one. If the Lakers, or if the Mavericks wanted to ask for 17 more first-round picks, you get our first-round pick from now in perpetuity for as long as I would still do the deal. That's how lopsided this is. That's how little sense this makes. I don't know how this possibly happened that you got Anthony Davis and one singular first-round pick. And I will also mention this. Why does this always happen? Why does this happen to the Lakers? Why can't this happen to my team? Why is it the Lakers? This is why people hate the Lakers, because crap like this just falls into their lap. Oh, LeBron, I just want to play in LA for the twilight of my career. Cool. Changes their franchise, right? They win a championship. And then people want to come play with him. Oh, and now I have this generational screw up of a trade that I'm just going to drop in their lap. You don't say no to it. It doesn't matter who is on the other side of the trade. The Mavericks guy calls up and he says, are you interested in taking Luka Doncic? The answer is point blank period, yes. You name your price. And their price was only Anthony Davis and a first-round pick. That is absurd. I cannot believe it.
I
Cannot believe it.
Gosh, I guess this was a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. The Minnesota Timberwolves gave the Utah Jazz 4 first-round picks for COVID patient zero Rudy Gobert.
Rudy Gobert. That guy was worth 4 first-round picks.
4 first-round picks.
You were throwing around first-round picks like nothing these days.
Yeah.
It's meaningless. Once again, if they say their price is, I want your first-round pick literally forever, I'm still doing the deal. I'm still doing the deal.
Yeah.
What's that? You want our first-round pick in 2058, like way after Luka? Yes, I'm still doing that deal.
Yeah.
And I know nobody cares about the NBA, but once again, as somebody points out on YouTube right now, Omaha points out on YouTube right now, I know nobody cares about the NBA, but like I said, the stupidity here transcends the NBA. The only time that we talk about the NBA on the show is when stupidity transcends the sport entirely. The last time we talked about the NBA, Josh, is when that guy got suspended forever for gambling idiotically, transcending basketball and thus being a transformational idiot.
He was apparently not the only one doing that exact same thing because Scary Terry is about to.
Yep. And we might even talk about that when that happens too. But this is generational idiocy, and it is hilarious to watch play out. So I'm not going to not talk about this on my show because it's so unbelievable.
Brian Windhorst has been a fascinating person throughout all of this because an NBA All-Star, unnamed, texted him over the weekend and said, do you realize how much the Dallas Mavericks must hate that guy?
Yep. I was surprised their GM yesterday didn't go on the full, because the only way to sell this, if you're the Mavs GM, the only way to sell it is to completely smear Luka. Completely smear. Just say, he was a cancer in the locker room, and he's fat, and he doesn't try, and you have to say all those things out loud. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. And I would argue that still it doesn't make a lot of sense, even if he is all of those things. But that is the exact takeaway. You have to really, really hate this guy in order to do this. And once again, I cannot emphasize this enough, to only really engage with one team. You know how you do this? If you're going to do this, which is stupid. If you were going to trade Bobby Witt Jr., God forbid, if you were going to trade,
they would never do that, Connor.
They would never do that to me. But I would hope that if the day came that they felt like that had to happen, that they would at the very least start a bidding war. They that did not happen. They engaged with one team.
How do you not call Pat Riley and say, hey, you want that Jimmy Butler problem to go away? I'll give you. I got a Luka problem I need to make go away. Why don't we help each other out?
You have once again, barring Victor Wembanyama, the best trade asset in basketball, and you didn't even start a bidding war. You didn't even ask what other teams would give you for it, because guess what the answer is from every team? It's literally name your price, anything you want. Please tell me.
I'm legally allowed by law to only be able, 4 is the maximum number of first round picks I can give you. I'll give you all of them.
There is probably some truth to he's worth more on another team. Luka is worth more on another team than he is on the Dallas Mavericks, just because, just felt like that kind of was running its course, right? And, whatever. There's probably some truth to that. But like I said, I mean, that's a franchise changing move. And if you're going to do it, you better be sure, first of all, and you better get an excellent return. You better get a king's ransom. They got no such thing. That's why this is so stunning, because once again, the stupidity transcends basketball.
And you have to be able to sit in front of a microphone the very next day and sell it to your fan base. This is why we did it.
And that was a bad day for him.
They really weren't able to. I mean, this is a team that people forget they made the NBA Finals last year. Luka looked terrible in the NBA Finals, and Brian Windhorst went on SportsCenter and was like, this guy is really fat, and it's kind of the laziest performance I've ever seen in the NBA Finals in the history of the league.
Jason Kidd has to sit up there the entire time and just listen as this guy tries to explain the things that he has done. And woof, there was some body language going on in that press conference yesterday. So, like I said, we don't talk much about the NBA in the show. I think there's some fascinating things out of it that's that happen every once in a while. But like I said, this is transcendent of basketball. All right. The 11 o'clock hour is coming up, and we can get to your guys' thoughts on this on the other side if you would like to. We'll also hear from Matt Rhule at his Saturday press conference. First time we've heard from Matt Rhule in a month, and then probably the last time we'll hear from him in a little while. But we'll come back and take your thoughts on this and more on the other side on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
All right, don't forget, stay tuned. Mike Schaefer will join us at the bottom of the hour. Michael Severe will be in with us coming up at noon. Sam McKewon will join us at 1. That's a star-studded lineup today. A star is born.
Those are some heavy hitters. Star is born, Lady Gaga last night.
Yeah.
Is she okay?
Did she seem okay?
She just, I don't think she sat still or stood still the entire night. She was always convulsing.
Well, she had a lot of stuff to get off her chest.
Yeah.
She had a lot of things to say. Many people had many things to say at the Grammys last night, Josh.
She was busy.
Yeah. All right, before we get into the Huskers here, let's take a phone call on the hotline. Here is Randy. Randy, what's going on?
Well, first I'd object to that Wembanyama would be the only one up there with him. Could probably be trade bait that anybody would do anything for as well.
So, who was the name that I think you cut out while you named the other name?
Jokic. Denver.
Yeah, I mean, getting a little older at this point, but fair point.
He's not that old, but I says, think about it this way though: if you're the Denver GM, I says, knowing what good friends those two are, you get that call from Dallas, is you're going to say, which 2 players do you want? Let's do it.
Right. It's unbelievable.
Pick any 2 but Jokic. They're yours. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. I don't get it. I do not get it, Randy. It doesn't make any sense to me, but here we are.
I just hope they don't gel very well in LA. That's just my hope.
Yeah, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. I'm kind of like, you know what's funny? I actually think this kind of makes the Lakers, I don't know. Maybe I'd have to think about this a little bit more. But like I said, this is why people have a distaste toward franchises like this, because stuff always seems to fall in their lap just because of the aura, right, of the franchise. Jokic is 29, by the way.
Cool.
That's not, to Randy's point, that's not that old. But
no, it's not.
The Lakers are the Lakers, the Yankees. Like, they're the type of teams where, they've come in with an offer that is exactly the same as everybody else, but I'm going to pick the Lakers because it's the Lakers. I'm going to pick the Yankees because it's the Yankees. I'm going to pick the Dallas Cowboys because it's the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe not so much right now.
Unless you're Juan Soto.
But this stuff always sort of like happens to him. So like, why? So I look at that and I'm like, I'm really jealous. Why can't this happen to my team? Why can't I get this generational screw up to land in my lap? You know, why does it not affect me? Why I want this to actually touch me. Or God, it is really hot in here.
Yes, thank you.
Sweating.
Pull up that Excel sheet.
I'm sweating doing the show.
In February.
Or maybe it makes you sympathetic to the situation a little bit because Dallas screwed up so bad and you want to see Luka now have success because he was shipped off for peanuts. I could see that angle as well.
I guess I could see that. I don't personally, but
I don't see what's so bad about LeBron. I like LeBron.
Oh, no, I like LeBron.
And I like Luka. So those two together
are a little doughy for my taste.
You don't like fat guys?
I am a fat guy. I don't like seeing any other ones excel.
Well, what about Jokic then? He's pretty doughy.
He's pretty doughy.
He had a more doughy time before now.
Exception that proves the rule.
Really? See, I like fat guys. I like fat guys who could play basketball. I'm like, this is awesome. Remember that guy from Loyola Chicago a couple years ago in the NCAA tournament? Cameron Krutwig. I love that guy.
Big beefy boy.
I loved that guy. So I'm good. I think Luka should stay fat if that's his problem right now, which it actually doesn't seem to be that big of a problem.
His likes conditioning. Beer. That seems to be the problem.
His conditioning is, leaves something to be desired. But once again, he has one of the best skill sets in the NBA and has been a dominant player.
I imagine LeBron can drag him to new heights.
You think his being around LeBron James makes Luka work harder and not drink as much beer?
I imagine LeBron will keep him on a short leash, right? Like, hey, let me teach you the Laker way.
It's kind of Luka's team now, though. LeBron's just a piece.
I mean, night in, night out on the basketball court, but let me tell you, if LeBron says they want Pepsi in the locker room and Luka says they want Coke in the locker room, let me tell you, they're having Pepsi.
That's true. Platcat writes in on Twitter.
Hi, Platcat.
At Happer Show loves fat hoopers. And then there's a GIF of our boy, Mr. Burns from last year. I did love that guy.
What a story.
I got to see him play. Now, I thought they got to the point where they overdid the fat part of DJ Burns last year.
Oh,
they were still talking about him being fat and doing bits about being fat when he was in the Final Four. They were in the Final Four, and they were still talking about how he likes ice cream. And remember, there was the whole thing about how he has his own vending machine company or something like that, and he was pretty fired up for that.
Oh yeah, he was like an entrepreneur, but they were like, this fatty just likes snacks, so we bought a bunch of snacks.
Check it out.
Like, no, that's not what's happening here, actually.
So maybe they overdid that a little bit, but I did like watching him hoop. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big, and sitting right next to the action because NC State was in Pittsburgh in the first 2 rounds last year.
Oh, okay.
So I was sitting courtside, and he was just staring everyone who he could find into oblivion. I think they had to beat Oakland to get to the Sweet 16, Golke in Oakland. And
what a bracket.
Oh, he was just staring at all the Oakland fans who were sitting right behind us. That was awesome. See, I love guys like that. All right.
That's why we send you to those games, so that
definitely
you have those memories that last years after the weekend is over.
That's the best part about memories, Josh. It's making them.
That's right.
Mike writes in on YouTube.
Hi, Mike.
Skinny people like snacks also.
Yeah.
I do. I'm not skinny, though, so.
Either am I.
I don't know if I'm fat either, but somewhere in the medium range.
I believe a doctor would say yes to me, but like just walking upon me on the street, I don't think you'd go, wow, look at that fatty fat.
Yeah, the doctors always want you to be doctors want you to, whatever you are, they want you to have less weight, unless you're like really, really skinny.
But it is at this point that I remind everyone we will sweat off 20 pounds doing the show today at this rate.
Apparently.
Oh my God.
It is hot. It is hot in here. This is coming up. I opened up the grill last night. It was lovely. I walked out there and I was a little scared about the clouds. I thought that was going to cool down the temperature pretty good. No, it was just lovely, lovely, lovely in the air last night. Okay, so it's a big weekend for Nebraska football as well. Nebraska gets Rocco. The Rocco Watch is over. We could talk about what he adds. I think he helps out with a little bit of versatility on the offensive line. It gives you more options, right? Nebraska now has gotten 2 starters from other Power 5 schools from last year. One of their starting tackles, Elijah Pritchett, is going to be starting for Nebraska next year. And now an interior lineman in Rocco Spindler from Notre Dame will be on there. And then Nebraska returns a few different pieces from their offensive line last year that they could but you could pretty much guarantee that one of the tackle spots is going to be occupied by Elijah Pritchett, and one of the guard or center, I guess, spots is going to be occupied by Rocco Spindler. Although I've heard conflicting ideas on the whole center thing for him. I think you probably just slot him in there as a guard, and then you have Justin Evans as your center next year. Or if Sam Sledge wins the job, then you have Sam Sledge as your center. But it gives Nebraska a little bit more flexibility on what to do with that other tackle spot, and then continued increased competition for either the center spot or the other guard spot. So that's a really nice add. And man, when you talk about what they've done in the transfer portal now, it is really impressive. I was really, and we'll talk about this right off the bat as far as what Rhule said this weekend. You remember at the beginning stages of the portal, Josh, this is like even before the bowl game. I was a little concerned about how much wood Nebraska had to chop in the portal. I just thought they're going to have to add 7, 8, 9, 10, like starter caliber players. We're talking about guys who either had a lot of production at the Group of 5 level last year or started at Power 5 schools last year. Well, when you look at what they've done, and it's headlined by guys like Spindler, guys like Elijah Pritchett, Dasan McCullough, Marcus Watson-Trent, Williams Nwaneri, like all the, and Nwaneri was, I don't know if he's included in the upper like starter category. Dane Key, Isaiah Hunter. I just read those guys, every single one of them besides Nwaneri that I just mentioned is pretty much guaranteed to be a starter for Nebraska next year. And so, and that's just off the top of my head. And so I was concerned about Nebraska having to get all of those guys who everybody else wants because they were starters at their previous school, not so much about getting 1 or 2 of them, but the volume at which they had to get starters for their team next year, like players that they are going to depend upon. And why? Because of this little thing called NIL. You only have so much of it. You only have so much of it that you could use. So I wondered if Nebraska's the depth of people, bodies, and players at which they needed to come in and be productive players for them next year. I wondered if that would work against him just because, like I said, there's only so much amount of there's only so much money out there. And maybe how it turned out was that they were able to sell all of those things to all of those players, and they had the money to sort of back it up, which was a little bit of a surprise. We've always thought that Nebraska's NIL operation was good enough, right? I mean, we're talking about a couple $1 million+ players on Nebraska's roster that they've got out of the transfer portal. I didn't know if you were going to be that competitive in that world. So here's Matt Rhule yesterday talking about how he felt going into these battles with these other teams from an NIL perspective and how he feels now coming out on the other side.
They're writing $14 million checks, of which they got about half right now, and they're trying to figure out a way to get to the money. The great thing about a young person, if they come to Nebraska, is like we don't take money from the students. Like this is all through our budget, and so it's sustainable. A lot of other schools, rev share is not going to be sustainable, so they can float a big number now and disappoint a kid later. We feel like we can just stand on business. Like, hey, this is what we said, and this is what we're going to do. In terms of for 1890, I'm kind of there as called. Like, when they have an event, I go. If they want me to talk to somebody, I do. I think it's really important that people hear some of the stories. I mean, you guys walk through the parking lot, you don't see like Lamborghinis and Ferraris out there. Like our guys aren't, our guys are investing in their futures and very often taking care of people back home. And but that's probably the extent of it. Really, I mean, Troy's kind of a leader, I think, in college athletics in that realm. So he does a lot of it.
So in order for Nebraska to get the players that they did, they not only had to be really competitive and had to like all of the normal recruiting stuff, right? We have a vision to sell. Here's our cool new building. Here's what we're building here. Like, we're going to win. All, like, you have to be up to snuff and all of that stuff. But you also, there's a number that has to go on top of it as well. And I think the way that Nebraska sold it was exactly what Rhule just said. They feel like now going into the revenue sharing era, that they're not writing checks later. They're not trying to raise funds later. They have it. All of the money that Nebraska pays out to their student athletes this year is already included in the athletic department budget. And now you see a lot of schools out there really trying to scramble late. They're trying to get the universities themselves to give, allocate some of the money so that they can pay their athletes. Nebraska's got it all taken care of, and they have the NIL stuff, and they can be competitive in that space after that as well. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with the organization of the entire thing and what they were able to pull off in the cycle. And I think I probably didn't give them enough credit in their willingness and ability to reach into the pockets. And that's all 1890, and that's the peds, and everybody sort of coming through for him when asked. But I probably undershot that 2 months ago when we started this process, and man, they did a really good job. What are they? The number 5 ranked transfer class in the country, and
number 1 in the Big Ten.
Number 1 in the Big Ten, or number 3 ranked transfer class in the country, and number 1 in the Big Ten. I mean, and it's not all just that. Like, Nebraska has gotten a handful plus, up to 10 or maybe 12 like starter caliber players that are going to be. I mean, that's half their team next year, and we'll hear more from Rhule on the 105-man kind of breakdown and all that stuff, maybe in just a while. But I mean, it's a big portion of what they do now, and Nebraska feels like they are well positioned to move into the era of revenue sharing, and they've done a nice job for themselves in this transfer portal cycle. Let's take a phone call here from the hotline. Here is Rick. Rick, good morning. How are you? All right. Rick is doing good, it sounds like. I missed that laugh right off the bat.
I have a feeling we'll get it again.
Well, why did he drop off? So, I mean,
I don't know.
People call into the show, and I may be known as the person who doesn't, it doesn't take me very long to get to the callers. And so all of a sudden they're hanging on the line for 3.5 minutes. They're like, geez, is this guy going to get to me? I've set the bar too low, too high for myself.
It's your own fault.
Jeez. Or maybe he was just busy. But like I said, I was impressed. I've been impressed, and to hear Matt Rhule talk about it, was sort of enlightening, and how they view things, and I think how confident they are in their process too of evaluating players and who they're going to spend money on. Like they have, I can't speak for other schools around the country, but they have a real definitive plan for market value, how much players are worth. And I think I don't think they're afraid to, as Teddy KGB would say, splash the pot whenever the bleep I want. I don't think they're afraid to do that a little bit at the end of the process if they feel like they need to take it over the top. But I think mostly they have a really good plan. They have a good idea of, how to value people, and they have the funds to back that piece of it up. And that's really what we're talking about here. It's organization. I mean, how many times over the last couple years now have we sort of had this realization? I hear guys like Schaefer talking about it all the time. Schaefer's going to join us in just a little bit here. I hear them talking about how organized Nebraska's recruiting operation is. Organized. And it's a great thing to be, right? To have the organization, to put your people in the right place and, get them in front of coaches or get the people on campus or whatever it may be. I mean, don't you think Nebraska has gained a little bit of an edge for itself here as far as organization in the NIL rev sharing space? Feels like there's some, there's some synergy there. And it served them really, really well. And now, how long before everybody figures out, oh, this is an area where we need to have our bleep figured out. We need to get our bleep together. I don't know. But it does seem to be a little bit of an edge right now for Nebraska. And like I said, I'm impressed with their whole process.
Had a lot of holes to fill. Weren't sure how they were going
to fill.
They had their own portal losses that they had to fill, plus just general needs on the team, and they've done a really good job of checking off some of those boxes so far.
Yeah. The other big topic that came out of the weekend, gosh, and you know what? And we'll hold the special teams conversation for a little bit later in the show because it comes along with the piece of news that Nebraska got this morning, and that that they're going to get Mike Ekeler, and he's going to be the crazy guy on staff, and we could sort of pair those things together. But the topic alert that ended up becoming way bigger of a topic alert than I could have imagined over the weekend. So coaches know, and especially Rhule, like we've talked about how before Rhule has had a great pulse on the things that are being said. He also knows what the buzzwords are. And so when Matt Rhule, a bit of a polarizing lightning rod of a figure because of the things that he says from time to time on a podium, when you get him up there saying the word tampering, that is a highly combustible situation. So Matt Rhule, it's been some conversations about you not having a spring game this year. What are your thoughts on that? And if you're canceling the spring game, why?
I don't know that yet, but I'll be honest with you, I highly doubt it. And I think it's really fundamentally, I hate to say it like this, it's really because last year we're one of the more televised. We were one of the more televised spring games, and I dealt with a lot of people offering our players a lot of opportunities after that. So to go out and bring in a bunch of new players and then showcase them for all the other schools to watch, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The word tampering doesn't exist anymore. It's just absolute free, open, common market, and so I don't necessarily want to open up to the outside world. I don't want these guys all being able to watch our guys and say, wow, he looks like a pretty good player. Let's go get him. So but I don't know yet. I don't know anything. I thought it was important that, we at least started to broach that subject of it not being televised. Yet at the same time, I do want to show off our players in some way. So what exactly it'll be yet? I have not worried about anything other than recruiting right now, both the portal and into the 26 class. So now I have to kind of turn my attention to all those things.
So Nebraska not having a spring game, and so this catches like wildfire over the weekend. We got everybody who has a college football Twitter account saying, what? Matt Rhule's canceling his spring game because of tampering. What does this sport come to? And what's wrong with Matt Rhule? Is he scared of the boogeyman or something like that? So this caught off like crazy. Now, let's be clear here. Is that the only reason they're not doing a spring game? No. It's 100. I mean, that was something that we proffered. The idea could be out there right away as they transition to a 105-man roster. Now, with that being said, they're going to have a lot more players than 105 on their roster for the springtime, right? So you're already concerned about injuries. Nebraska had a couple, not quite season-ending injuries, but significant injuries last year in the spring game. But the first thing that came out of Rhule's mouth was, well, I don't want to put this game on TV because last year after the spring game, all of a sudden, all my players who were on television just playing football started to get calls from other universities, and I want to try and protect ourselves from that. I don't know how much, what the percent of the pie is on the reasoning behind doing away with the spring game, but it's not, it's that combined with several other factors that I think are leading to this. But like I said, that you get Matt Rhule up there and you get him talking about tampering, and I think he probably used it as an opportunity to mention that this is happening and he's adjusted to it, or he is adjusting to it, and this is his way of adjusting to it. But man, people took that as a shocker when they heard that on Saturday.
Definitely I would like to comment on the state of college football as an open market.
Yep.
How do I do that?
How much do you buy that though?
Let me work back.
How much do you buy that is the reasoning for doing away with the spring game, or what percentage of the decision is that?
I mean, I believe him when he says it happened for sure. No more than 20-25%.
I think there's also a lot of you can very closely combine that idea with, oh, well, I don't need our spring game to be on television because I don't need other people to see what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got a whole bunch of new players and we want them to get the most they possibly can out of spring ball. And you're telling me we're going to put it on TV for all of our opponents to see?
No, thank you.
No. Even if you're the most vanilla, which they have been recently. And I think that's also a part of it. You know, how difficult is it to get the fans to really, really buy into and engage in the spring game? Because one of your biggest recruiting tools has been the spring game over the last several years. How difficult it is to get your fan base engaged in that when you're telling them up front, hey, don't expect too much. Like I don't, you know, if you're coming out here expecting to see all the cool new stuff, and we'll show it off like it's the day after, you know, the first day back at school after Christmas. Look, I got this Game Boy. I got these new jeans. I got this new shirt. How do you like it? They're not going to do that. And no college football team in their right mind would, because it's another opportunity for people to see how much, how much you've done and all of those things. So those were fascinating things, but that one blew up for sure over the weekend. So we'll have a couple more videos from Matt Rhule a little bit later in the show. We could dive deeper into Rocco Watch and the news this morning that Mike Ekeler is coming back, folks, we got him, Nebraska's new special teams coordinator. But will he fix the problem? And Matt Rhule's answer about special teams was fascinating on Saturday. I mean, he basically, and we'll play this later, he basically just put it all on the long snapper last year.
Okay.
I mean, how much have we talked about, man, it wasn't just that. It's all these other things. And he's like, no, it was just kind of that.
Oh, interesting.
He said it took a lot longer for him to say that.
Sure.
On Saturday, but
it's Matt Rhule.
But that is one of the things that he sort of got into. So let's take a break here. We'll come back with Mike Schaefer. Ask him about that organization piece that we just mentioned with Nebraska football, and I'm sure he's riding the roller coaster with Nebraska basketball as well. Back with Schaefer coming up on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Come the Guardians.
Yeah, I have statistics to back up that we have people that listen.
Mike Schaefer.
Anytime there's sort of a debate as to who can do something, Happer would always put his name forth, for sure.
Husker 24/7 on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
I could be a star.
All right, we're joined now on the hotline by our good friend Mike Schaefer of Husker 247. Hi, Schaefer. How was that ride on the Nebrasketball roller coaster last night?
It was remarkable in that at no point could you ever feel comfortable that Nebraska was going to win that game. And at no point did they play in such a way where you're like, wow, this looks markedly different than when they were losing. Instead, they played a lot like how they did when they had been losing games, and they just ended up winning this one. It's a very tough team to figure out. You don't know.
So
go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, Schaefer, my point on their 6-game losing streak, it was one of them, and obviously they hadn't played well for the majority of it, but it wasn't like it was that. Aside from like the defensive part of it, I don't know. I just came away from the 6 games thinking, yeah, there was a way where you could have won. You could have and maybe should have won a couple of those games. And then when it looks a little better, but you have the result to pair along with the fact that they beat Oregon and they beat Illinois last week, you're like, wow, this kind of looks better. But then actually, it's the truth is there wasn't a whole lot different. It's just they got some better results and they were able to finish games off.
Would it be fair to say that they are pretty much the same kind of slightly above average team, that if other teams play in a certain way, or if they are just slightly off, they can't do enough to overcome their deficiencies?
Yeah, I think that's right.
I mean, that's kind of how it feels like. And it's also, and I think this is the crux of the other thing here, and it's very cliche to say this, but I think we're seeing it. There are no easy wins in the Big Ten. So no one just gives you a game. So you have to go out and you have to be able to play complete basketball. And as much as I hate it when a certain podcast guest of Bill Simmons would talk about teams not being able to play a full 60 minutes, Nebraska basketball cannot play 40 minutes of good basketball. So it's whether the 8-minute stretch that could be split up in 2 different 4 minutes, could be the last 2 minutes of a game. It's just like, will that sink them? And they had one of those 3-minute stretches at the end of the first half, and then they had another stretch in the second half, and they were able to overcome that in part because they just did everything else just well enough, aside from not being able to handle the ball great and make 3-pointers.
Yeah,
like it's just the pathway for them to play anybody is remarkably consistent, and yet it really relies on 2 factors. The other team can't go off, and they basically have to make layups. Like it's just they're a strange team. I struggle to discuss them because I don't understand why they can't hit open looks. I mean, it is baffling to me. And then part of it is, they don't have enough shooters, but Artesian, for whatever he is, can't go 0 for 10 on 10 wide open 3-pointers in a 2-week stretch. Like that's just you just don't expect these things to play out the way that they do. But here we are.
Schaefer, did you tune in to the aforementioned Bill Simmons podcast to get the Luka takes on Saturday night?
I didn't.
Sad.
So what was I doing on Saturday? It was one of those things where it like popped up on my Twitter, and know that it had happened, and I was reading or seeing reaction to the trade of like people discussing whether they thought it was real or not, because it was still sort of in the infancy of it. And then my brain just sort of couldn't comprehend why anyone would want Anthony Davis as part of a return for anything.
Agreed 100%. Thank you for saying that.
Bizarre all the way around to give up on an actual 25-year-old superstar that carried your relatively weak roster to the Western Conference Finals. But I don't know. Maybe the Mavericks are playing 4D chess here.
No, No, I don't think so.
They're just dumping a bunch of money and not really caring about the quality of their basketball team.
Yeah, I don't know what they're up to, but it's not going to end up positive for them. I can tell you that.
That seems fair.
Hey, Schaefer, we're so on to Nebraska football with Mike Schaefer of Husker 247. We were just talking about what they were able to sort of do in the transfer portal this year, and pairing that along with Rhule's comments about how comfortable they felt in the bidding wars and the NIL space and stuff like that. And the word that I kept coming back to was organization, and it just feels like they're pretty well organized in that level. Which then I made the comparison back to recruiting, and I know that's a word that you've used with their recruiting operation. I would imagine, Nebraska having all of that stuff pretty well tied up behind the scenes is a big advantage for them, whether it's in the portal, in bidding wars, and then of course in recruiting as well. Like how well do you think that did them this portal cycle?
Well, I think the big thing is having a head coach that was a former NFL head coach. I mean, he's gone through NFL free agency, and that's more of an equivalent for the transfer portal than certainly college football recruiting would be. So it wasn't a surprise to me that they would be organized in the sense that you'd have a list of guys that you're going to run through. You're keeping your options open. You're on the phone with representatives. You're getting people in for visits. You're working relatively quickly. You know, you've got a visit scheduled, but it might get canceled because you've got someone else higher on the list that you're able to say yes for. Part of that is just being part of that free agent frenzy. Even though he wasn't at Carolina for super long, I mean, he would have become familiar with that, would have an idea as to what it is. And I think, he made the remark that tampering it's all present, and Nebraska's engaged in that too. With all of these representatives, It's not tampering if the representative just floats the idea that their player might just be heading into the portal, in the sense that they're just going to see what the market is. And so Nebraska would have a strong indication as to which of these offensive linemen were going to be available, who they might have a good fit with, how they'd be received if they came into Lincoln, or where they might play. And then you operate off of that. I think where Nebraska was maybe caught off guard, and it wasn't just Nebraska, I think offensive line prices were incredible in the portal. I think a lot of offensive linemen made themselves some nice money because that was what everyone was seeking in the portal this year. I think how many times Nebraska and Michigan were mentioned for the same offensive line. Like on our message board, we have people that are upset that Nebraska didn't end up with player X or player Y. And it's like, well, there are a lot of these other programs because there's money just going around. And with the future of collectives relatively uncertain, people were spending what they have. There wasn't a reason to have money on hand in reserve if you're not going to be able to use it, depending on whatever settlement is reached with the House and the NCAA and all these other factors nobody likes to talk about. So I think that they had a good feel for how this would go because Matt Rhule has experienced NFL free agency. I think it'd be a lot tougher if they were in a position with Scott Frost or, a coach. I was going to say Mike Riley, but he was actually the coach of the Chargers at one point in his career. Bo Pelini, I guess if you would. Like somebody who's just a college lifer that hasn't been in that NFL experience, I think would have had a little bit tougher time. That's why you're seeing teams hire people that worked in NFL front offices to be college GMs, because you need someone to help create that structure and to kind of create it going forward.
You mentioned how those offensive lineman prices were way up there. I mean, what does it say that Nebraska was able to, at the end of the day, get two guys that are going to be, who were Power 5 starters last year and are going to be starters for Nebraska's offensive line next year?
I think it says that they had a lot of money to be able to utilize. They certainly were aggressive in pursuits of different linemen. I think if you gave them true serum, these weren't guys that were at the top of peak of their board, but they certainly didn't have to go find warm bodies. Like we're not talking about, and hopefully they're not listening, but we're not talking about Jacob Hood or Hunter Anthony. We're talking about guys that are going to come in and be, especially in Spindler. I have no question about Rocco Spindler. That's a guy that has a lot of experience. He's going to be a guard. I'm assuming a right guard at Nebraska. You're going to get 1 year out of it. I do have a fair amount of reservation about what Elijah Pritchett might actually be because of how rough it was for him. And there's no shortage of questions, character concerns, that kind of thing that comes with a guy with his sort of history. So that one is a little bit more of a gamble, but you needed an offensive tackle, and you weren't able to get 2-3 guys that were ahead of him on the board, but you still got someone that you'd have for 2 years that can help immediately. And that is an important thing as Nebraska goes through this process trying to reshift their offensive line for Dana Holgorsen.
How do you square up what Rhule said about special teams on Saturday with the hire that they've made this morning?
Well, I guess I'd square it up with the fact that they addressed the issue, and that's sort of the primary thing here. I mean, it does feel like he bluffed in front of the cameras and the reporters to a degree, and came back with a special teams coordinator. I don't know that it was just feeling out the water. It seems that this had been in the works for a while, just based on how things played out here. But at the end of the day, they had to address the special teams, and I think Mike Ekeler's track record is really good. So is Ed Foley. So a lot of this is going to be conjecture until we get results. His results at Tennessee were fantastic. Will he have access to those sort of athletes on his special teams? Maybe. But does he have the mentality and the mindset to kind of bring that out of people? I think absolutely. I think the fact that he was a special teams player himself, I think he's a super high energy guy, and just talking with people about what it takes to be a good special teams coordinator. It's a lot of being detail oriented, and it's a lot of bringing energy and keeping people ready to go and getting people motivated. So you might only have like 5 snaps, but you got to maximize all 5 of those snaps. And I think Mike Ekeler is a good person to be able to do that. I don't know that his background as being Nebraska's linebackers coach 17 years ago matters. I really don't think it does. But the fact that he's a good special teams guy that knows the area, that could be really helpful.
I also like the idea, and I don't know, Schaefer, I guess this is a question for you. Were they lacking on the staff, pre-Mike Ekeler, the thing that you just explained that Ekeler brings to the table most definitively, which is absolute, fire, intensity? Not that there's not guys on the staff who bring a little bit of that to the table, but this one, certainly stands out from just the mentality and the way he approaches coaching football.
I think they had guys that had energy, and I know their strength and conditioning staff has energy. Yep. And I'm fairly certain when Evan Cooper was here, if you watched him at practice, he had a bunch of energy. But it's not lost on me that if you look at a lot of NFL special teams coaches, they're young guys, that this is their opportunity to kind of get their foot in the door, and they bring energy. Unfortunately, Ed Foley doesn't strike you as energy. And we don't need to get into the singular word physicality discussion or anything like that. It just didn't work, and whether it was because the specialists weren't good enough or the plan wasn't good enough, we can rehash it all day long. It didn't work, and now they have someone else at the helm here. But again, just from the veterans of people that have played special teams, have coached special teams, just different people I talked to, that word came up all the time. You spend a lot of time, every practice has a special teams portion. These guys are working with that coach or hearing from that coach and that voice. So having a guy getting you fired up when you're going out there on a dead sprint to go deck a guy on a kick return or kick coverage, or even kick return, I think that does matter. And maybe Nebraska could tap into more of that. Maybe Matt Rhule can tap into more of that. We'll see. He obviously values something for Mike Ekeler besides just the results. And I do wonder if it's maybe a little bit different fire and brimstone approach than what feels a little bit more calculated with the rest of the staff.
Yeah. Schaefer, unfortunately, the other thing that the Luka trade brought to me this weekend was people just throwing out the idea that this is like the Royals trading Bobby Witt Jr., which just made me uncomfortable, like periodically throughout the weekend. But I'm glad, I don't think that the Cleveland Guardians have, someone that would fit that category. So it seems like you stayed clear.
Well, they already traded him in Francisco Lindor. And he only had a year left on his contract. So I know what that's like, but that's not what the issue was for them. It wasn't like they didn't have the money to sign Luka. I don't know what went on in the walls of that building, but it would seem to me, and this is what's the weird part about it, and then the fact that the Lakers are involved and LeBron's involved makes it even bigger. It would seem to me that if you went to all 30 teams, or 29 teams, and you're like, hey, this guy is available for trade, give me your best offer. In no way, shape, or form is Anthony Davis and whatever else they received the best offer they could have gotten if they had put that together.
That's right.
Someone else is beating that offer.
Yes. In fact, I bet the Lakers could have, if they wanted to.
Well,
I don't know.
Clearly they didn't have to.
Yeah. I don't know what they were doing, but I'm just glad that conversation maybe is dying off and we don't have to think about making comparisons to the Royals trading Bobby Wood Jr. anytime soon. That's good.
Do we know how this affects Bronny James in his pursuit of the all-time worst field goal percentage?
I think he stays in the G League. I don't know what happens. I'm pretty sure he just stays in the G League.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Does this make the NBA more interesting to you?
No, I'm not going to watch any more games now. Like I'll watch the playoffs when they come on, but we got some time until until April until that starts. But it's just a quick pit stop in the middle of the season. Oh, time to talk about this is not basketball stupidity. This is sports stupidity. So that's, it transcends it.
For me, it was a reminder like, oh yeah, the NBA is halfway through their year. That's basically what it was.
Yeah. Well, now you get to turn it off, continue to turn it off and wait until the playoffs start, right, Schaefer?
Yeah, I would say probably maybe the play-in games. I'll put in one of those later at night, and we'll see if there's any first-round matchups. Otherwise, I might just wait till the second round, and then I'll climb in. I'll have a few hot takes, and then I'll get out for the rest of the year in June.
Yeah, it's a tale as old as time. All right, Schaefer, enjoy the rest of your week. Good to talk to you, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Mike Schaefer, Husker 247.
In 2011, the National Basketball Association denied a trade of Chris Paul to the Lakers because it would have made the Lakers too good. It was a suspiciously lopsided deal. Why did we not do that here?
That commissioner's dead.
Yeah, well, yes, literally.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
This commissioner prefers it when people talk about the NBA.
That's true.
And he will.
That's almost all he cares about.
He will stop at nothing to make sure people talk about the NBA. He's probably sending a memo out to all the other teams today. Would you like to trade your best players? Would you like to wipe all the rosters clean next year and do a fantasy draft? It would be the best thing in NBA league history.
We'd televise it with Stephen A. Smith and Charles Barkley. Who wouldn't watch?
All right, we're back with the odd news coming up on 1620 The Zone.
And now we've reached the point in the show where Josh Odson reads the peculiar, the bizarre, the comical, the odd news with Odd Son. Odd news, Odd Son. See what we did there? The odd news with Oddson.
All right, time for the odd news. We must get through this quick because our guest is waiting.
He's milling about.
I asked Michael if he, wanted to participate in the odd news.
I listen to this part every day.
Okay. All right.
Every day?
Well, if you got any comments, your mic's on.
Well, if you do it, I listen.
Okay.
Sometimes I even go back and listen.
I'm just amazed when people go, oh, that's a good thing you're doing on the radio.
It's a good segment.
There you go. Josh, congratulations. Good segment.
Good segment, yes.
All right, let's do it.
Jim Nantz, known as a giver. He's always giving kids his ties and things like that. Well, it's time for Jim Nantz to take. He wanted to, he paid for it. He bought Scotty Scheffler's old car.
Really?
At auction over the weekend.
Scotty Scheffler auctioned off his old car.
That's right.
Not the rental car from the.
Was
it that one?
Now that would be worth more.
Awesome.
No, this one had over.
It doesn't it? From that cop.
This one had.
His pants were damaged beyond repair.
Beyond repair, baby.
200,000 miles on it. It was a 2012 GMC Yukon XL. Which still has the golfer's 2022 Masters parking decal on the front window.
Oh, look at that. There you go.
So I guess there's a weird piece of Masters memorabilia that Jim Nantz just had to have.
I want to be rich enough one day to not have to sell my old car, but to give it to a charity and auction it off.
Well,
I did that twice.
That's amazing.
I've done that twice. Given it to the Kidney Foundation twice. That's 2 different cars.
That's fantastic.
And that doesn't make us rich. It's just that I wasn't going to get much for the cars.
Well, I don't know.
I was going to get $2,000 for it, and I thought you write it off and it goes on your taxes. And Nebraska Kidney Association, who I am on the board, is a great organization.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Similar situation here.
I need the $2,000.
Donated the car to Triumph Over Kid Cancer.
Nice.
A charity founded by his friend James Reagan, who died from a rare form of bone cancer in 2014. Nantz started the bidding at $50,000, a price that apparently held up until the car showed up at his house last Monday.
Oh, he only paid $50,000 for it?
$50,000
only.
Wow.
Only
$50,000 for a Yukon with 200,000 miles.
He really started.
But it's got that Masters sticker on.
I love Yukon. Damn.
He started the bidding way too high then.
He did. He came in too strong.
Yeah.
He came in hot.
He just kind of flexed like, I'm taking this car home, everybody.
That's cool. Good job by Jim Nantz.
You know how much he makes, right?
Nantz or Scotty Scheffler?
Nantz.
No.
Oh,
I like Nantz makes like.
I mean, Nantz has a golf hole in his backyard.
He makes like $25 million.
Yeah,
a year.
Romo got what, 9, and everybody was like, "Well, you got to pay Nantz."
And then
more.
they upped everybody's salary when everybody from Fox would. Well, when they left Fox and went to Monday Night Football, those two guys they got the big money, and everybody else got bumped up.
Ugh.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money.
Going rate changed.
$50,000 is nothing.
Super Bowl is Sunday, and everyone is releasing their ads early because why?
Internet.
Yeah, the internet. Michael's right.
Internet.
It doesn't mean I have to like it. Google released their Super Bowl AI ad with their Gemini software, and they wanted it to be marketed towards all 50 states. So there's a different one for all 50 states.
Oh.
And the one for Wisconsin talked about
drunk people.
Cheese.
Oh, sorry.
Wisconsin Super Bowl. What Super Bowl logo?
Super Bowl AI ad.
Gemini.
It says 50 to 60% of the world consumes of the world's cheese consumption is Wisconsin Gouda.
Really?
No, not really.
That's wrong.
Not true.
Not really.
That's
That
wrong.
is.
Yeah, it's not.
That's wildly
I can't be even
inaccurate.
close to being true. I would assume like cheddar or white Americans.
Yeah. So Andrew Novakovic, professor of agricultural economics emeritus at Cornell University, of course, pointed out that this is in no way even close to factually accurate. To which Google said, "Our bad."
While Gouda is likely the most common single variety in world trade, it is almost assuredly not the most widely consumed.
It can't be because mozzarella would be above it.
Yeah, pizza. Yeah.
Unbelievable. AI, can't trust it.
You can't trust AI at all.
No,
you can't trust it.
No, you shouldn't.
I mean, you try to get them to make a graphic, and half the stuff is spelled wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, just ask a question. Usually it's the wrong information.
Unbelievable.
And finally, we go to Florida, where we usually end up here at the end of the odd news.
We do.
Caltavia Turner, 22 years young. She's a professional dancer.
No way.
If
Dancer, huh?
In Florida, huh?
Well, I think that's what
money.
she'd call herself. Trying to put herself through college. She got into a verbal altercation with a 30-year-old convenience store worker. The two exchanged derogatory comments towards each other, according to a police report. At one point, Turner became irate and picked up a banana from the cashier counter and threw it at the victim's face. The fruit struck the employee on the cheekbone and left a minor abrasion, investigators noted. And I will read the next sentence of the article, word for word. The banana was not seized as evidence.
Wow. That is second-degree assault.
Really?
Left a mark. Use something.
Yeah, okay, left a mark.
Second-degree assault.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Police records list Turner's employer as Baby Dolls, a Clearwater gentleman's club located 4 miles from the 7-Eleven where the incident took place. It seems like they let her go, saying, hey, we don't want to see you here again.
No harm, no foul.
Don't let it happen again. All right. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Connor.
That is the odd news. Michael Severe is here. We're going to talk Super Bowl and whatever the hell else we want to talk about.
Maybe he'll even sit down.
Fat people.
Start with Luka.
Coming up on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. Is my mic on?
What'd you do over the break?
Hello? Nothing.
Oh, how about we actually turn your mic on there?
There we go. Well, the buttons don't work anymore.
Nah, they
There we
work.
go.
I just can't count
Nice
to 3.
work.
Oh, really?
That one's on me, guys. I'm going to
All
point
right.
to L.
Welcome back.
What a way to
It's-
kick off Super Week.
That's right. It's Super Week presented by Moose Roofing and OSI Oakland. And we thought Super Bowl, we thought New Orleans, and we thought, let's just have Michael come in and just hang out with us for like a half hour.
Sure. Sounds awesome.
And so here we are. You would be listening to the show, I think, anyway, because I'd be receiving various direct messages from you throughout the show.
I do not have your phone number.
Yeah, we should actually.
So that's
probably get
why
that
I always
going.
send you the DM thing on Twitter.
It all gets to me.
Yeah.
It all
So
gets to me.
it's right there in front of you.
Yeah. Super Bowl in New Orleans.
Yes, the only place it should be. I say this all the time to people.
That was always how it used to be.
So for a while, it was tied with 7 with LA and Miami and New Orleans, and then they got ahead because the last time it was in New Orleans, of course, it was the blackout, and that wasn't a great thing.
No.
But there's no place in America that has more hotel rooms within walking distance of the facility than New Orleans. There's something like 120,000 hotel rooms within a mile and a half. It's crazy. So that's why. That's why it's great. Then you can walk to the quarter. You can walk down Poydras. There's so many places to eat. It's just the perfect place for a Super Bowl.
I love it because it's unique, right? It's not, they've created all, whether it's the Super Bowl or the Final Four or whatever, the national championship game for football, they put it in these same locations.
Yep.
And it's just like, it looks the same every year. When it's in New Orleans, it doesn't look or feel the same.
Yeah, and it's the history too of it. You've had some pretty good Super Bowls there, and you've had some weird things. So the first Super Bowl that was supposed to be in the Superdome did not happen because, believe it or not, when you have a project that big, it wasn't on time. So since they didn't finish, they had to play it at Tulane Stadium. It was one of the coldest, believe it or not, one of the coldest Super Bowls of all time. In New Orleans, that Super Bowl had more fumbles than, well, maybe it's changed since then, but of all time. So that was Pittsburgh and Minnesota in a rainy, cold New Orleans where there was fumbles all over the place.
Weird.
Because it wasn't in the Superdome because the Superdome was overdue to be open.
and then
they had it at Tulane.
Now the last 6, right? So this is the 8th.
Yeah,
New Orleans Super Bowl?
I went in 81 for Eagles, Oakland Raiders, which Eagles got completely robbed. Horrible calls in that. Matter of fact, even the Kenny King touchdown shouldn't have been a touchdown. It was blatant holding on it. Then I went to the Super Bowl with the Patriots and the Bears. That was really cool because when the Patriots and Bears came to town, I was in 6th grade, I believe. Is that right? No. Let's take it back. I was a sophomore in high school. So the first one I was 6th grade. So sophomore in high school, and they took the high school kids to all of these events and brought the Bears and brought the Patriots.
That's awesome.
And it was really cool. I got a really cool pendant with all the Patriots signatures, which worth as much as the Bears. But yeah, I went to that Super Bowl and we left in the middle of the third quarter.
Wow.
It wasn't very competitive. We left because my mom had some stuff to go to. And then the only one I've ever worked was 96 season, 97 Super Bowl.
Okay.
So I was in Monroe, Louisiana at the time. And my now wife, she was living in New Orleans going to Tulane. And so I came to see her. I said, well, let me get a pass to go to all the media stuff. And I did that. And then the day of the Super Bowl, about 2:00, my wife has an anaphylactic reaction to something she ate, which means she gets hives and all this. And it was horrible. But once we got her all taken care of, I went over and watched the last 3 quarters of the Super Bowl where the Packers beat the Patriots.
I was just thinking, have we ever gone and done Super Bowl media radio row?
We've talked about it. So nowadays, in the last 15 years, they won't give you a radio row spot unless you have a connection with a team.
Interesting.
Now, before this, we didn't have the Chiefs. Now with the Chiefs going so much, I bet you they would give it to you guys.
Yeah.
Because you do. At least that afternoon show does that stupid segment with that guy who calls games for them. So you have that you could have a reason to go.
Hey, so speaking of that, are you're quitting football after?
If the Chiefs win again, I almost did it last year. I came really close to quitting the NFL to the point where my wife was going to buy me some stuff, always Saints stuff for Christmas.
Yeah.
And I said to her, if the Saints win, I mean, if the Chiefs win back-to-back Super Bowls, I'm done. So she didn't buy me anything even for Christmas, any Saints stuff. So if it's
and when you give stuff like
when I give it up, I give it up.
You have threatened, and I thought they were just threats for a period of time. No. You were like, I have to stop watching baseball now. I've watched the Mets for my entire life, but baseball is dead to me. And you actually stopped.
I have not watched a game. I said all the time, I saw 1 inning of an All-Star game last year. And that's where I found out that Soto wasn't no longer with Washington. I was like, what the hell? Yeah, I don't know. And I really don't watch the NBA
Mets.
much.
Now he plays for the Mets.
Anymore.
Did you know that?
I did hear that.
Yes.
Like a large contract.
A big
I heard about that. Yeah.
$700+ million.
But I also heard from a guy who is a big donor for them that means they won't be able to keep the polar bear.
Yeah, it sounds like he's going elsewhere.
Oh, okay.
At this point.
That's sad. So anyway, yeah. And I really don't watch the NBA. I haven't watched an NBA game all year.
Yeah.
I did follow the Luka thing because, see, what you guys don't understand, as a Sixer fan from when I was 7 years old, this is Embiid. Don't you realize a guy who can't get himself in shape, a guy who is always banged up with a similar injury every time, it's always the calf, he is going to end early unless he turns his life around. Best thing that ever happened to that dude right there is to go to the greatest personal trainer in America, LeBron James, and go, this saves his career. This dude's up to like 290 pounds.
They were saying 270 or something like that.
He is fat. I'm fat. I know. He's fat. He needed to get in shape or his career was going to end just like Embiid's is going to end. It's good for him. I'm glad for him. Happy for him to get out of Dallas and go someplace where maybe he could light a fire under his ass.
But unfortunately, if you're the Mavs GM, you're like, well,
tell me
do something.
Who they should have traded for. If you think you can win this year and all you think you need is a defensive big man, tell me who they trade for.
Well, I just think you add like 6 more first-round picks.
Well, you
to
don't
that
want the
deal.
first-round picks. You don't want the first-round picks.
Why not? You're getting them for free.
You want to win.
It's either 1 first-round pick or 5 first-round picks.
They don't want to keep the team in Dallas if they can't get the law passed to have gambling.
There's that part.
They have this year to run for, and then after that, if they can't get the gambling done, they want to be bad. They want to go to Vegas. They want to do the switch up. I just
heard about that theory this morning.
They want to get out of there. Yeah, because Texas is one of those weird states, like Alabama's another one, Utah's another one. Well, I don't think they'll ever have legalized gambling. They just don't want it. They don't need it for the taxes, right? Texas doesn't need it. And then they have the religious Bible Belt stuff too. So if they're not going to have it, and these people are casino people.
So they're trying to find excuses to move themselves out
if they can't get the legislature to help them. Yeah, they wanted to build this amazing facility that involved the basketball arena and a giant casino surrounding it. I've seen the prospects of it. It looked really cool, but
they were like, no.
They're like, no. But if you want to win this year and you think the only way you're going to win is to get a defensive big man, the only other person is Bam Adebayo. Who else fits this category of a guy who's that talented who could help carry you?
It didn't seem like they were going to them with the express purpose of like, we want Anthony Davis and we think
they
Anthony
did.
Like,
they went.
But it just felt like it more felt like they were trying to just off Luka.
January 9th, supposedly, that's according to the reports.
Right.
They went to Dallas, went to LA and said, we want Anthony Davis. We want to get him. What's it going to take? And then they negotiated, and it went up and down and up and down, and they finally did it. And I think they did it because of 3 reasons. One being the whole thing with the casino. Also, do you see what the extension is going to be for him being with the same team for 5 years? You see how much it's going to be?
No, he's got the.
You're going to get that guy $330 whatever million, a guy who can't even stop drinking beer for part of the season.
He loves eating and drinking beer.
Yeah. And then
not trying very hard.
And then the other reason is I really honestly believe that they think, it's probably completely wrong, that Luka on the Lakers, now he owns Oklahoma City. We know that, right? You put Luka on the Lakers with a guy like LeBron, and you say, okay, you guys go off and do that thing. You'll be good. But we are at Dallas, a team that can play defense now, and we'll be able to beat the teams that are smaller. OKC smaller than them. The Lakers are good size with them, but I think they really believe they can win a championship with Anthony Davis. It may be crazy.
Yeah, if you're thinking about this year,
just this year, yeah,
then maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
but I know he's going to be 26 years old. I know how young he is.
But then there was the whole thing that they were, the GM the next day was talking about, I really believe the defense wins championships. And of course, there's nobody left. Like Luka's not there and AD's not there yet. They give up 144. They give up like 90 at halftime.
I know.
It was just funny.
Give me the great player, like that won a championship that wasn't also a good defensive player. Because the majority of those guys don't ever get the championship, right? It's something about it. You have to be able to be a little bit of a two-way player, and that's not what Luka is. He's not a two-way player.
No, but if you pair him along with LeBron, well, I mean, it's late stage LeBron now.
Yeah, he's 40 years old,
right?
Yeah, but how many? The Knicks, right? I was looking at the box score. He had like an incredible game against the Knicks.
Yeah, LeBron,
right?
Yeah.
So he's 40, but he could still give you maybe one great game a week, right?
Yeah.
That's the playoffs.
By the way, do you remember when I was thinking about that? Because it was like the second or third thing that came up like in the NBA, realm of things. Back in the day when LeBron would play at MSG, or like when Jordan would play at MSG, it would be, or Kobe would play at MSG. It would just be like the top thing.
Yep.
On every sports. I missed that. Why isn't that a thing? Why don't we talk about that as much anymore? Like I would have loved to talk about how
it should be like that again because the Knicks are now good, right?
I know. Yeah.
Because that was back when the Knicks weren't good.
Maybe MSG has lost its magic.
I still love that building. I know you.
I've never been.
So
I've never been.
Big East.
I mean, I've been around it. I haven't seen an event in there.
Big East tournament a couple of years ago. We went, and I hadn't been in it probably for 10 years. And you come in that tunnel, the backside of the media entrance, and you're walking through that tunnel, and they got all these posters of all these amazing concerts that have been there. And
Billy Joel.
A lot of Billy Joel, yes, 10 days in a row. But they have that, and you're just walking through there, and as soon as you walk out and you look up and you see all the Knicks from 71 and 72, 70, 71, 72, you see all that. You look the other, it's just a really cool building. It just really is.
I know.
And it has so much history.
I love New York.
I love New York. The only other place
I think we're the only two people who are like,
I would live in New York. When they said it was the bowl game, if we weren't going to New Orleans,
I was going to say, did you think about going?
I did. If it wasn't the fact that we were going to New Orleans already and it was all scheduled, and I told you it was a weird year for that, I would have definitely tried to go. I took my kids to New York, so I left New York when I was almost 8. I took my kids when they were 6 and 9 to New York. Took them to Mets games. Took them to the Statue of Liberty. Took them everywhere because I wanted them to experience New York around the same age that I experienced New York.
I thought about going to that game, and I said it out loud, I think on a crossover one day, and I was laughed out of it. It's like, you're not going to actually go, are you? He's like, why not?
It's expensive, obviously, to go to New York,
right?
But it's worth it. It's like having the Super Bowl in New Orleans. There's so much to do. You spend one day, just go to the World War II Museum, and you'll never experience something like that. You spend 4 or 5 days just hitting the best places to eat.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I would just eat the entire time. I'd be like Luka. Just eat the entire time.
Just eat the whole time. He would not be good in New Orleans. Obviously, that's Zion's problem.
Well, Zion's got a bit of a
Zion's
situation
problem
right now.
Yeah, there's no place to, if you have a problem with addiction, any kind of addiction, New Orleans is not the place to be.
I spent like 3 days in New Orleans, and that was enough.
Yeah, it's because it's not 3 days.
No, it feels
72
like 9
hours.
Yeah, it feels like a long time.
It's closest you get to Vegas. And even Vegas has a slow period sometimes.
But I've always said with Vegas, like, you can't spend more than 3 or 4 days in Vegas. I know you have.
Yeah. Well, for events and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just hard.
Yeah, it is. New Orleans is hard because nothing closes. And things are rarely cheap. I mean, fairly cheap. So, for example,
time doesn't matter.
Sunday night is Sun night, right? And then Sin night. Saturday night is Sin night. Sunday is Sun night. They have 3-for-1 drinks at almost all the bars. Most of the businesses are closed on Monday. Like restaurants are closed on Monday. Want to get your hair done? The hairdressers are closed on Monday because people go and they party all weekend. They need Monday to recover.
Yeah,
I went to that city. I was doing my internship. That would have been 1994. I did my internship there, and I went there every weekend. I would leave college. I would go to the airport. I would be there from 6 o'clock on Friday to 9 o'clock on Monday.
You're talking about Vegas or New Orleans?
No, this is New Orleans.
Yeah.
And I was working at a TV station, and I was doing some producing. I literally wouldn't sleep. We would do the Friday night show. We would go out. We would get home 3-4 o'clock in the morning after getting some rallies, double burger with chili. I would get up first thing in the morning. I'd go back to the radio station. I would get all the college football stuff ready to go, TV station, get all the college stuff ready to go, tape games, edit. Saturday night, same thing. We'd go back out again. We go to a different place Saturday night.
You can only do that for so long.
It'll kill you. It literally will wear you out. That's why I always said New Orleans is a 72-hour city. Go there for 72 hours, have a blast, and then get out.
I bet you're hoping that happens with the Chiefs at some point this week. Oh, the Chiefs have found themselves enjoying themselves too much.
I think they pretty much understand the process by now of how to handle themselves at a Super Bowl.
Yeah, probably.
3rd year in a row.
Are you looking forward to the game? Are you looking forward to the game?
So it's complicated because I have this panic kind of thing that they're going to win 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And I won't watch the NFL anymore. So I have that.
You're not giving up the NFL.
I have that in my chest a little bit. So that's tough. A lot of my friends are Philly fans. I lived in Philly.
That's right.
A lot of my
you went to
friends,
your draft in Philly.
Yep. I got my what's it called? WhatsApp, right? I got the thread on there. They're all Eagles fans.
You're on WhatsApp?
Just because it's my draft guys. So all the guys we go with to the draft, they made a WhatsApp, and so we're on there. Anyway,
just text them.
My favorite thing about the WhatsApp is that it is very convenient. Anyway, my favorite thing about it is that one of my friends who's like always behind will send like something that happened. And I'm like, dude,
you guys see this?
I'm on X. I know what happened. But anyway, so yeah, I'm cheering for the Eagles. I hope they win. I hope they do very well. A lot of my bets that I have set up are Eagles-based bets. So I hope they do very well. It'd be miserable and also when the Chiefs win something, I shut down my social media. I shut down I don't watch it or listen to anything. So I lose like weeks on time of sports.
How have you allowed the Chiefs fans to infiltrate your life that much?
I've hated them since I want to go back to maybe 2005. I've hated them.
Just because of the fans?
The fans. I can't stand the fans. Now, I do not dislike them as much as I used to. People make fun of me of this because I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan. And so because of her thing.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Because of her thing, I'm actually a little bit, not as much.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you are of the rare people that.
She helped me be less of a hater.
Yeah, you hate them less now than when they were bad.
I love her storyline. I love the storyline with her and Travis. So, I mean, he was also my first 5 years in this one league. When he was in the league, I had him every year as my keeper. So he's always got the relationship too for me.
Sal says, damn, I thought I just like the Chiefs. Michael is next level. I mean, he's legitimately considering giving up football.
I'm definitely am. So I have that issue. But in terms of a game, it is a great matchup.
I know.
Across the board, it is a great matchup.
And maybe it's Monday, so I'm not there yet. But gosh, I've had a problem getting there. I would have been thinking about the Super Bowl throughout last week. Now it's like I can't get there yet.
Scariest fact, you know how many times Patrick Mahomes has lost in a true dome game?
0.
Yeah, a true dome game. That means
but no retractable.
Yes. He's never lost in a true dome game.
How many games are we talking about?
Like 15, I think. I know.
Well, okay, so who plays at a dome? New Orleans.
Atlanta. Now Los Angeles.
Yes.
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yep. Those aren't all bad teams. Houston. Houston's retractable, right? Maybe not. Maybe not. Phoenix, I believe, is permanently indoors.
Yeah.
Actually, most of them are permanent. Like, there's not many retractable.
The funny thing about it, and when I say true, meaning it wasn't open.
Right.
So it was closed when it's been closed. But the name of the place is still the Dome.
Oh, so it's just in a dome. That's basically in a dome period.
when it's not open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of too many that haven't open ever.
Well, Dallas does it, right? Dallas goes back and forth to having theirs open, right?
I don't think so.
I think they do.
They just have the big window.
But then they have the issue where they were trying to open it that one time and a piece of metal fell and almost killed 4 people.
Well, there was that one.
Yeah. So I think they do occasionally if the weather's nice.
Indy has, I think they have the ability to open that one.
Really? I didn't know that. I've been there a couple times. I don't remember that, but that's possible.
It was definitely, I mean, the only time I've been there was for media days and it was 800 degrees outside.
Yeah. I went there for the Big Ten championship in 2012.
Oh, yeah.
Classic. And then I went there back again in 2018. So yeah, I think it's a great matchup. I'm excited about the betting possibilities of it. I'm excited about watching the whole thing, cooking all the food and all that stuff.
But there's a lot at stake.
There's a lot at stake.
So if you give up the NFL, what will you do with the draft?
The draft is a college event. Okay. So I thought you were bringing in for me to break down what happened in the Senior Bowl.
Let's talk about the draft.
I thought you wanted to break down the Shrine. I watched both the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl.
Of course you did.
Got me some notes and stuff. Got to have that down. Ty Robinson, excellent performance.
Why we're bringing you here, by the way, is just to hang out.
Oh, okay, cool.
I just wanted to hang out with you.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, there were no parameters set.
I appreciate that.
Just like, hey, how about we get Michael in there? It's like, great, awesome.
Do you know that one of the practice players of the week at the Shrine Bowl was Isaiah Nayor?
I heard his name pop up a couple times.
He was the practice player of the week for wide receivers.
So help me sift through this because every single Senior Bowl, if you follow Nebraska, you see, oh, wow, Ty Robinson had a great week. Oh, wow, Nash Shotmaker had a great week. Oh, and Isaiah Nayor had a great week. Is that like comparative to what? It feels like all these players help themselves out every year.
Well, no, there's a lot of guys that didn't have great weeks.
Okay, good.
So if you pull up any
Did any Nebraska guys not have great weeks?
Well, Tommy was struggling. Tommy Hill was struggling, had his best day on Thursday, and then got hurt.
Yeah.
And had to leave.
Classic.
So, classic Tommy Hill. Nash Hutmacher was okay during the week, just based off of all the reports. And I watched you can watch all the practices. They're online.
Yeah.
Ty Robinson had a great week and had a great game.
Okay.
Like he had push. He split a couple double teams. He really looked good in the game.
Is there a real world where he's a first rounder?
I don't think so. I think he's a day 2 guy, middle of the second. So there's 6 guys that I think on a defensive line, just looking at the rankings that are ahead of him. And traditionally, you have about 5, 6, maybe 7, depending if it's a good year. And this is going to be a defense first round that would go ahead of him. So I think that puts him in the second round.
And then Fedoni. There was Fedoni.
So you're going to be shocked by this, but Fedoni missed his share of blocks during the Senior Bowl. I texted a guy you just had on the radio. I'm like, do you know why this is? Do you know why? I think part of it maybe is he doesn't have the greatest want to when it comes to that part of his game.
Yeah.
Because he had 2 or 3 opportunities in the
not necessarily
game
a willing blocker
to really put a guy down, and he completely missed them.
Yeah.
Now, he only had 1 ball thrown to him, so he caught it.
Okay.
Good for him. And they couldn't block the front. The team he was on couldn't block the front, so none of the quarterbacks had a lot of time to throw. But the good thing is that Ty Robinson and Fedoni were on opposite teams. So you could see them at the same time, which is kind of cool.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing that I always like about the Senior Bowl, I never really watch it or whatever. It was on. I love when they put all the different logos on the guys' helmets. I love. I don't know why. It's like seeing all the colors with the MLB All-Star game that you used to love.
Dylan Gabriel's?
No. How many
so
logos
he had
did he have on
Oregon
there?
here, and he had the UCF, and then he had the Oklahoma. Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Awesome.
I thought it was really cool.
I would just be collecting logos and just slapping them on my helmet all
the
week
old
long.
East-West Shrine game back in the day was crazy. They'd have so many you couldn't tell who the player was. Now they've kind of limited it. They don't do it as much anymore. I think they basically only do it if you actually played for that team in the past.
Yeah.
And not everybody's played for somebody.
That's true. Everybody's played for multiple teams.
Yeah, Ty Robinson is truly a unicorn.
Seriously. In college for 6 years.
Yeah,
and only
in
played
one
for
place.
one team.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's nuts.
I believe there was only 2 players in all of the Senior Bowl that were like that.
Any other Nebraska thoughts based off of what Rhule had to say this weekend and where they're headed and anything like that?
No, I think there's times where he uses better than any coach I've ever been around. This includes the NFL. He uses his press conferences or news conferences to deliver messages, whether it be to student athletes
wants to say,
or to the media or to people, fan base, and that's what he did. And I thought when he got to the part, and it was one of the first questions when they asked him about special teams, I think he was just kind of downplaying the fact because he knew that they were getting ready to make a hire.
Yeah.
And he just kind of downplayed
Well,
it.
in hindsight,
and he loves Ed Foley. That's one of his best friends.
No doubt. I was going to have a whole big, if they didn't hire Ekeler today, to be like, man, that answer just was not real.
Yeah.
Didn't really do it for me.
Right.
Because he talked about how, hey, it was the snapper and there wasn't necessarily anything that we did schematically that was wrong. And
There's six.
And I'm like,
phases.
That's not true.
They were bad in all the phases.
I know. That's definitely not true. And then they hired a guy and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I see what he was doing.
That's it. So I follow special teams.
You do.
A lot.
You follow things.
The Jet Award Foundation. Tennessee's return game the last 2 years has been great. They had a guy, D. Williams, last year, who was one of the best kick returners. This year this is the funny part about it, they have 3 different guys in their punt return game that were good. They led the SEC with over 15 yards of return. They had the most long returns out of anybody. I think they had something like 6 or 7 20-pluses and 130 plus. I think that's right. They did give up a kickoff return for a touchdown the final week of the season against Vandy.
If they have multiple guys who could do it, that makes you think that they were doing some other stuff right.
Exactly. That's what because I know sometimes people would go, well, what about the talent? So they got one guy named Squirrel.
Love it.
Another guy named Boo.
Love it.
Those are 2 of their punt returners,
Squirrel and Boo,
who both were really good. And then they have a third guy who didn't have as many, but he had a touchdown. He had their only touchdown return on punt returns. But they're good. And they're good in coverage. Didn't give up a lot of big.
And they were bad before Ekeler got there.
Exactly.
Too.
He made them better.
So
he made them better.
I don't know. That makes you think something is going to change.
The guy's got so much energy. I remember when he did the whole thing where he had the fake tattoo for Will Compton. And that became a storyline for like 3 months.
That's right.
And every time you'd see Ekeler, you'd picture him being 4 feet off the ground, jumping and doing some sort of chest bump.
He's headbutting people with helmets on.
Exactly. He's just a fiery guy. And the funny thing is when they hired him, people weren't very happy about it because of the relationship with Kansas State at that time.
That's right.
And people were like, oh, you're bringing in a Wildcat at Kansas State. It didn't take very long for him to win over Nebraska.
Yeah, a long time ago. That stuff doesn't really matter.
Not anymore. Not anymore at all. We don't have those, except with Colorado, basically. That's the one team where people have really held on, and maybe Texas, have really held on to that hatred.
Nebraska got a player from Colorado now. How would that be received? I think it would be more of like a slide at like Colorado. They'd be like, say, screw you.
They want to come to us.
Yeah.
But when Colorado's playing, I'm assuming almost every Nebraska fan out there is cheering against them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I know that's the case for Texas.
Yes.
It may be Miami still, too. It's a possibility.
They're just so far removed from everything.
Yeah.
You don't even probably watch them as much anymore.
When I got here, Kansas State was one big one because they had gotten good. Iowa State obviously had a couple wins over Nebraska, so that was one of them. People didn't care about Kansas much. They hated Colorado,
Missouri.
Yeah, the last 6 years with Missouri, that was maybe 5.
Yep.
That was really good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was this guy, AJ the Hater, who used to call and write. He was on a message board guy.
I feel like that sounds familiar.
AJ the Hater, dude. And we had a bet. The Missouri-Nebraska game in the rain. Remember that game at Missouri?
Thursday night. Yeah.
And I bet him that Nebraska won by 2 touchdowns. And he was killing me with like stuff on this message board they were on at the time. And you know what happened in the last quarter.
Yeah.
And then after he didn't call the show. It was great though. Those are good times. Those are really good times when you have guys like AJ the Hater.
Well, Michael.
Yeah.
That was a fast 25 minutes or whatever.
So by the way, New Orleans, if you ever have a chance to go and you need places to eat, email me. I will email you a list of places to go.
He will.
I'll send you the list, places to go, things to see, things to do. You'll have a blast.
And the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl.
God, I hope so. Oh, I so hope so.
I don't even know what I'm rooting for. I guess I approach it.
Game?
I guess I approach it just like every other Sunday that I watch the NFL. I just sit there and I say, wow, football.
Give me a good game. I mean, 38-35, despite that horrible, ridiculous holding call late in the game. Anyway, so yeah, you get one of those games.
Well, and then also we predicted several weeks ago that it would be the Chiefs and the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and that the Chiefs would win it 17-13.
Oh my God, low.
Yeah, but I no longer think that.
Yeah.
But it'd be really funny if it was super low scoring and it would just be a horrible game on top of it.
I think if you're going to take a safe bet, and there's no safe bets, is that if you like to tease, I would say take the 6-point tease. You move Philadelphia to 7.5.
Yep.
And you drop that thing down to 42 or 41, depending on where it is.
Yeah.
And you go with that. You go with the over. And
it feels like an over game anyway.
Yeah.
But if you basically buying 6 points or whatever.
Exactly. And then you figure it'll be within a touchdown. You figure it will be either way. So
any Jet Award stuff that we need to get the word out there for right now?
We're going to be putting out some single tickets, which we normally don't do because we're getting a lot of interest because Caden Wheaton won from Iowa.
Yes. How do you pronounce it again?
It's Caden Wheaton.
That's correct.
That's how he told me when
Yes.
we did a
T is silent.
We did a thing with him with Johnny. Congratulate him, and he told me to pronounce it that way. So we're going to be doing that very soon. We're selling tables. We have this really cool auction group that's coming in. They have amazing things. Everything from golf to boxing, all kinds of stuff for the auction. So that's going to be fun this year. If you want to find out more information, go to thejetaward.com. A lot going on there. So no, I'm excited. But it's gonna be a fun event. And we're adding the girls award or the females award. If it's a high school player, I think we say girls and boys, but whatever.
It's what I always thought too.
Yes,
it's girls basketball, and then when you get to college, it's women's basketball.
Exactly. So Jordan Larson Award. This will be the first year we're giving that. I'm very excited about that. I'm glad that we're gonna be able to do that. I hope Jordan can be there. Probably not though. They'll probably be in the playoffs with Love VB or however you say that, and she probably won't be there, but it's gonna be a fun event.
Awesome, Michael.
You're invited, of course.
Oh, I will. I love to go every year.
Yeah,
I went last year. I had to leave early because I had to pick somebody up from the airport. I think I don't know why. But
okay.
I left. I think I had dinner and left. That was bad.
We may have a huge announcement next week about the awards.
Okay.
So
Excellent.
we may have that. It'll be a big deal.
Michael, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you, Kyle. Thanks for having me.
Michael Severe, everyone. Now the live studio audience would give a round of applause there. Good job. Back after this on 1620 The Zone.
He gives you the latest sports news, interviews, and life-changing commentary with a smile on his face. Because he wears those ticklish underpants.
Let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Thank you to our dear friend Michael Severe for just coming in and talking with us. If you ever want to talk, Michael Severe's got you.
Yeah, he was like, well, what are we going to talk about? I'm like, you're just going to meander through literally everything. So I'm not putting parameters on it.
But it was a Super Bowl segment,
Yes,
technically.
yes.
Powered by Moose Roofing in OSI Oakland. But we talked about New Orleans, and then Michael, of course, threatening giving up football if the Chiefs win, which would just be a horrendous loss for football. I think
It would. He's very good at analyzing football.
But don't he's still going to watch the draft stuff because the draft, as he said, is a college event.
Yeah.
The draft stuff and the all the stuff that leads into the draft, which you watch both of the weird all-star games this weekend. And so Michael does it so nobody else has to.
When we appreciate that.
We really, really, truly do.
Just very quickly, I don't know where you're going in this segment.
I have something that I need to tell you, but that's after you say what you're going to say.
Okay. I would like to play a piece of audio that is broken.
All right.
During your conversation with Michael.
All right. What is it?
Comes to us from the Colin Cowherd show.
Oh, okay. Let's see. What's he up to?
Here he is.
Number 3 is the Lakers are aspirational franchise with statues everywhere in the building. And the bottom line here is I think we're going to get a more dedicated Luka. Folks, I'm going to take a break. I am getting very, very sick very, very quickly on the set, and we will return.
Did Colin Cowherd puke at work? Josh.
After that, they took a 7-minute commercial break.
Oh, my God.
Where Colin did not return.
Oh, my goodness.
That man is on my enemies list.
Yes, you hate Colin Cowherd.
I hate him, but normalize puking at work. It's okay. It happens. Don't be embarrassed.
Wow.
I mean, thanks for not puking like live on FS1 for all to see, but.
So people were dragging Cowherd again this weekend because anytime anything happens in the NBA, what was his take? He had an amazing take. And it was, I remember what it was. He goes, it was in 2018. And he looks at the camera and he goes, move aside, LeBron. Ben Simmons is here.
Oh, no.
And every time something in the NBA happens, that gets brought up. It's the same thing with Kellerman and, Death Star's coming. I got one shot. Give me Iguodala. Just 2 of the greatest takes I can think of. So anytime anything happens in the NBA, those 2 guys get brought up. And Cowherd in the news yet again for puking on the radio or on television. Now, did they happen to catch Colin keeled over the trash can?
I have not. Video of that has not surfaced yet.
Crecky writes in on YouTube.
Hi, Crecky.
Josh O and Colin Cowherd. Cowturd, he says. Handshake meme.
That's right. That guy's just copying off of me.
Hey, on. Josh is a trend center. He really is. Now, here's what I was going to tell you. Well, so you'll have to sort through that emotionally. I don't.
Really put me in a pretzel there.
Yeah. Normalize puking at work. Did you do your tweet already?
I did.
Okay. I didn't see it. Sorry.
That's okay. You were talking to Michael.
Yeah, I was engaged in a great conversation with Michael.
It was great. Everyone should listen to it on the radio replay page at 1620thezone.com.
But you did. You could have broken in with that news.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, Colin Cowherd is puked at work.
I didn't know if Michael was up to date on the bit.
I think he's a listener of the show.
Yeah. Seems like it.
He gets the show at the very least.
Yeah.
No, Josh, here's what I was going to tell you. Nebraska basketball is good.
Another bit.
They are good.
Are they?
Yes. Definitely.
Are they?
They are definitely good.
Okay. They're good again.
No, I just think the more confusion about this team, the better at this point. It gets funnier and funnier every time they play a game. What's going to
on brand.
happen? I have no idea.
Many people have thanked me for canceling this team. They are 2-0 since.
So, Josh, I was going to ask you about that. You have canceled them, and predictably, they have 2 of their best wins of the season in back-to-back games ever since the ill-fated cancellation of last Monday on the show. What say you?
The same thing happened.
And they went to the NCAA tournament last year.
Yeah, and I did this with baseball once, and they went on a run. Many people are asking me to cancel their favorite sports team, to which I will consider for a nominal fee.
Yeah, Josh will be the canceller if you need him to be. But I will say you can't do it too many times, because then what does the cancellation actually mean if you just go around canceling things that don't really need to be canceled?
Eagles fans, if you'd like me to cancel, I guess Eagles fans would want me to cancel the
Eagles
this weekend. Yeah.
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 Many people around here would either want you to cancel the Chiefs or to not cancel the Chiefs. You cancel the Chiefs, of course, if you're a Chiefs fan. You
to the highest bidder.
You do not cancel the Chiefs if you are not a Chiefs fan. If you are like Michael Severe, because it has the opposite effect.
Boy, that's a high stakes Super Bowl for him.
It really is. It's a tight wire act. Nebraska 14-8, 4-7 in the Big Ten Conference. Now 4 wins over top 25 teams this season, which is tied for a school record. And all of that, well, 2 of those wins coming directly off of a 6-game losing streak. What did I say last week, Josh? I said it probably goes to show you that they shouldn't have lost all 6 of those games. With that being said, we can acknowledge how horrendous they were on defense pretty much the entirety of that time, giving up 97 points to Iowa in overtime, blowing it in the Peyton Sanford gets absolutely smoking hot. Nebraska goes to overtime and loses. Giving up 104 to Purdue, giving up 85 to Rutgers on your home floor. Only 69 to Maryland, and then 78 to USC, and then 83 to Wisconsin. Each of those just looking its own version of bad. Really, with the exception of that Maryland game and parts of the USC game. But what I said afterwards was, and I don't know, like, I don't feel like it's a whole lot different from when they were, like the median of what they should be. At the top, you could tell. When Nebraska is at its best, you can tell. When they're at the medium, a general Nebraska basketball performance to what we can expect from the bottom of the barrel, those I don't think are that far off, which should both scare you and give you some confidence about what this team could be. So they go and they win a couple games against Illinois and Oregon, and I watch them against Illinois, and what was my take after they play Illinois on Thursday? It was, boy, I don't know if it was a whole lot different. And
we didn't know how Illinois functions on a day-to-day basis.
Well, great. It's still a great question. I don't know really what to think about them.
It's also a question we ask about Oregon right now.
They had a lot. I mean, Illinois missed a lot of open shots in that game. I thought, now I'll say this about Oregon. I don't know how good they are. Once again, not exactly sure what they were trying to do, but I thought Nebraska's energy was better. I thought Nebraska's energy and effort was just flat out better, especially in the first half against Oregon. And they, of course, had to match the fact that Oregon had horrendous uniforms with their own horrendous uniforms last night.
I mean,
in front of 900 people on a crap, weird court.
Nebraska led basically the whole game.
Yeah, no, I thought Nebraska did a really nice job defensively against that team, and then almost tried to blow it with some careless, ridiculous turnovers in the latter stages of that game. They shot 4 of 23 from 3. That's 17%, Josh. But they held Oregon to 5 of 20. They made 21 free throws in the game, but they turned the ball over 12 times. I mean, you're kind of looking at it like, geez, they are lucky to get out of there with a win. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. That's going to be a consistent theme because of what they're not on the offensive end. But they have to bring it on the defensive end. And even if they don't, they're going to have chances to win some of these games. And that's another thing with the Big Ten when we get to that. I just don't. I said it from the start. I don't know how good the conference is. So Nebraska's going to have chances, and it's perception. The perception of the conference is that it's really, really good from basically top to bottom. So there's a reasonable world where they could win 3 more, all of a sudden replace a 6-game losing streak with a 5-game winning streak, and you're immediately back to 7-7 in the league with with a chance to do some damage down the stretch. Nebraska has key games left with big, with quad 1 type of opponents, and here they are. Home against Ohio State this coming Sunday, home against Maryland next Thursday, and home against Michigan on February 24th.
Interesting.
They also go to Ohio State on March 4th, and they have a home game with Iowa to get revenge on that game as well. So the schedule both has opportunities for wins. Washington on Wednesday, at Northwestern in a couple weeks, at Penn State in a couple weeks. Opportunity for wins, but also opportunity for quality home wins as well. I don't see why they can't put it together here. I still, once again, we do the roller coaster thing, and I guess this is my biggest complaint. We do the roller coaster thing with how good they are, right? We always talk about good or bad. They might be able to win games even though they're not that good.
Right.
Right? And if you're winning games, then who cares? Right?
Who cares?
Same thing with Creighton.
So
how good are they? I don't know.
No idea.
But dang, they stole one on Saturday.
So I defer to your basketball knowledge here. There's no real glaring thing they're doing, Nebraska, that is.
I think when they're at their best, they are defending hard.
Yes.
And Bryce Williams is being the best version of himself.
Okay.
Scoring. And Gary's not shooting threes. My God. He made one last night, though, which was a welcome sight.
Congratulations.
He's shooting about 27% for the year. It's not very good. Okay, so any comments on that, we'll take them. Let's squeeze in a break here before we get to a caller on the other side. Want to hear from you guys. 951-1620. Back after this on 1620 The Zone. The biggest game of the year is indeed upon us. And as we know, there have been some pretty good ones over the last 60 years. So you can head to our website, 1620thezone.com right now, and vote to tell us which one was the best of them all. The greatest big game bracket is live right now at 1620thezone.com. And if you need more details, I don't know why you would, but you could just go to 1620thezone.com. You'll find out what we're talking about. Vote on your favorite big mega game of football that you've ever seen. Your favorite. Once again, 1620thezone.com. All right, to the phones. Here is Random Mike. Hi, Mike. What's going on?
Hey, I always enjoy Severe.
He's great. The best.
He named me. I don't know if you're aware of that.
He named you?
Random
like
Mike.
he was the one who called you Random Mike?
Well, he spread it.
Okay.
Some a-hole caller said Random Mike in contempt. I didn't hear it, but
I do love the cadence of, okay, your name is Mike, and then like a one-word descriptor to like Random Mike. We have Nebrasketball Mike. We have the guy Bad Takes Doug. You know, like I love that. I love that type of stuff.
Yeah, and it was an acquired taste because it was not meant as a compliment, but it's true. And trust me, when you get older, you get even more random. So the truth hurts, but the truth sets you free. You know, all these cliches are true. I mean, that's why they're cliches. People keep repeating them.
I hope so.
Josh Hodgson, people should take him seriously and show him some respect. He's been saying all along, Nebraska basketball is good.
That's right. They're good.
I told you, I hear this from Saddlemeyer all the time. The biggest mistake KFB made was letting Josh Hodgson get away.
Wow.
That could not be words that have left his lips. But I will pretend they were. Thank you.
Yeah, and, look, they said this about my old man. You never knew when he was telling the truth. But, hey, this is a great day, except for the women losing. Did you watch that?
I watched parts of it, and then I had to do something else. So I heard it was not a great officiating show for the women's basketball team.
Well, when is it on the road?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. But Amy didn't make her post-game show. What's the deal with that?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe they had to get the plane out of there. Maybe.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the Indiana coach. I think she's a really good coach.
Yeah. I mean, they've had a lot of success. Yeah.
Yeah, they came real close the last few years. I mean, they're really good. But hell, you lose two of your best players like Nebraska has. It's going to be rough. But you agree, we got some good freshmen on this team. Is Hargrove? I mean, she's nice. and
yeah.
I mean, of course, Prince.
Oh yeah, no, they're gonna have they seem to have built themselves a nice little a steady foundation to stand on top of.
And the Croatian girl, I mean, she did some good things. I mean, I think she's going to be okay.
Yeah, Petra, yeah, she'll be pretty good too.
But here, look, getting Ekeler, getting Rocco. I mean, these are both really good things, right? I mean, it's a good day.
Mike, I don't know how they wouldn't be good things. I think they are good things.
And, my big thing is Ty Robinson, and, Sabir was talking about how well he's doing. I mean, we're going to learn how critical he was, to this team. But the good thing about how things can look was Ty Robinson was not that great. I mean, we kind of developed him. So presumably we can do that with other guys, Well,
I mean, that's the hope. And I mean, it's pretty rare that you're going to have a guy stay around for that long. But I mean, he was a pretty highly recruited guy anyway. And you have what you have. And I think Nebraska got a lot out of Ty Robinson, no doubt.
Oh, absolutely. But hey, the men's basketball team, kind of like the football team, most of these losses have been close. And the football team, it just blows me away how you hit some open receivers. We could have been in the freaking playoffs. I mean, nobody dominated Ohio State, again, Ty Robinson, I thought was a big part of it, but we could have beat Ohio State by 10, 14 points if we hit some. You know what I'm saying? How close we are, and the basketball team. Look, if we make wide open threes, a decent amount of them, not a huge amount, we win that game yesterday by 20 points.
Yeah.
I mean, just like we got beat real badly by the teams that beat us badly, with the 3-point shot. So I just think it's real interesting how similar they are.
Mike, we appreciate the call as always. Stay random, my friend.
I can't help it, man. Take care.
Okay. So there's a difference between being close to winning the games and being close to being the program that you might be winning the game against. You know what I mean? Does that make sense to you, Josh?
Yeah, that does.
Yeah, I mean, if you get close to winning the games enough times and then you just count all the opposite results in all of those, then yeah, you are close to being in the college football playoff. But I also think what Nebraska is trying to do is, yes, win those games, but also be the type of team who they look like a playoff team and they earn their right to be in the playoff and stuff like that. Now you take your playoff appearance wherever you could get it. You know what I mean? But trying to build a foundation. It's similar with Nebraska basketball, right? Okay, we're close to doing this and this and this against X team. Does that mean you are that team? Well, no. You have to put together the foundation to be able to do that kind of thing.
They've shown they can get up for a big game, and now it's time to deliver a little more consistency.
I think what they desperately needed and they got last night in the win over Oregon was a whole bunch of confidence. And that, like it or not, as much as coaches want it to be about this kind of like non-binary world of like we have to just play hard and be this all the time, there's emotions and there's feelings that go into it. And if you lose 6 games in a row, you're going to question some things. And then when you win 2 in a row against top 25 teams, you're going to say, damn, we're awesome. You know? That's sports. You know? So I think they needed that confidence that the last 2 games have given them, and we'll see how far they're able to take that. But with that being said, going into the 6-game losing streak, they had a lot of confidence. They were coming off of the win against UCLA, and then Iowa shocked them, and then whee. So roller coaster is a pretty good way to describe it, to be completely honest with you. All right. 1 o'clock hour is coming up. We'll talk with Sam McKewon coming up on the other side. Also, we do have to talk about Creighton's blessedness to get out of Philadelphia with a win, the amount of blessed that they are.
Seems high.
Yeah. But you take it, like I said.
Don't apologize.
And we still have to get to Connor's Grammy wrap up on the 1 o'clock hour, the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. Welcome back. We're the Connor Happer Show here on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. One more thing. Speaking of 1620thezone.com, we ask and we challenge you, how well do you know your football? Oh, well, every morning this week with Gary and Matt, they'll play a clip from a game, maybe a big game of the past. And if you are the first one to guess which game it is correctly, you'll win $100 from us. You can find the details online at 1620thezone.com, but mostly just listen to the morning show all the time. Listen to 1620 The Zone all the time.
Yeah, that's the best way to accomplish anything.
Period.
Yeah.
Josh, thank you.
And
sometimes I feel like your sentence is going to keep going and then it stops.
Yeah, sometimes I think it does too.
All right.
I just lose all steam.
Okay. That's all right.
That's on me.
Well, it's tough. We got to get, Mondays are hard.
I'm doing stuff over here too.
What are you doing?
Well,
what are you up to?
Well, you were talking to Sam. I was going to make a thing for Michael's segment that we could post on the website. I'm trying to do two things.
You're trying to work ahead while you're trying to be on the show. Well,
Yeah.
Josh, I invite you to be present.
Okay.
Be in the moment.
No,
because Sam
right.
didn't answer the phone,
That's right.
and now we have to talk.
He didn't.
That's
I'm
okay.
all yours.
We will see if we can track him down or if he'll call back. Sometimes people don't answer the phone the first time and then they call back.
Not everyone's like old man Doug.
Not everyone is like old man Doug answering the phone on the first ring.
That's right.
But I was looking forward to talking to Sam. He wrote some interesting things, as he always does, in his Monday Rewind column when he was talking about NIL a little bit and some of the things that Matt Rhule had to say. We haven't talked much about the special teams hire today. So let's go back. First of all, I have a video here, Josh, from
Michael had a video too.
Michael did remember Michael's video. That's right. So I had built like a whole segment in my head today, and on paper, of Matt Rhule's answer to the special teams question. Obviously, they still at the point where Matt Rhule did this press conference on Saturday, Matt Rhule didn't have a special teams coordinator. Now we know they do, and it's Mike Ekeler from Tennessee, formerly Nebraska's linebacker coach when Bo was here. But at the time, when he said this, he didn't. And not only did they not have a special teams coordinator, people wanted to know, okay, upon further review, after you said, hey, we need an overhaul, I believe the phrase was complete overhaul of the special team situation after the bowl game, people thought, all right, what's that going to look like? And so people were still wondering on Saturday, what is that going to look like? Upon further review, what did you learn about your special teams and what are some of the things that you were going to approach differently going forward? And this was Matt Rhule's answer to that question on Saturday at the press conference, the first time we have talked to him since he said those words about special teams overhauls.
Yeah, I think, again, I'm always very protective of our players, but I'll be quite honest. I think even in the interviews, I don't think anything we did wrong was wrong schematically last year. I think a lot of our problems stem at the snapper position. And once that happens, you're trying to compensate for things. And I love those guys, but it just was not a good year from that perspective. And so, you think about, scheme, you think about all these things, but really at the end of the day, it comes down to technique and fundamentals. And so when something at the very core is not right, then the elements all around it aren't right. And so, I would love to go from being, I look at special teams like you're either, net neutral where you're not winning or losing the game on it, or you're losing the game on it or winning it. And you think back to Wisconsin, which was a great game for us. We played really well on special teams. Opening kickoff, 60 yards. We made some plays on special teams, and all of a sudden it opened the game up. I don't think we can put any more time into it in terms of practice. I don't think we can put any more time in terms of meetings. I think our roster this year will be better than our roster last year. That's just the building of the program, and so I think you'll see some of that. But I think really this, whoever's going to lead it is a main focus, and then the decision, that we did to go out and get a punter and a snapper, and then obviously Aiden coming back should hopefully correct the problem that was there last year.
I heard that on Saturday, and I kind of got mad I was like, really? You did this comprehensive evaluation of special teams and you found out it wasn't really anything schematically that was wrong. It was just that we had a bad long snapper. And then you thought, man, okay, are we putting, you thought to yourself for a second, okay, are we putting enough time into this? And he said in that answer that we just played for you guys that it wasn't necessarily the amount of time that we dedicated to things. It's not necessarily that we could dedicate more time to this or anything like that. And I thought, man, what a weird answer. And so I was going to, the response was I was going to kind of rip it apart. Like, geez, I just don't think that that's right. Because remember, they were bad at everything. They've been bad at everything for the last several years in special teams. It wasn't just the snapping part of it, although it's certainly a symptom. And then this morning, the report's out that Mike Ekeler is going to be the special teams coordinator, and he's done some pretty good things on special teams in the past, as Ed Foley had a pretty good track record of special teams as well. So maybe the answer that Rhule gave on Saturday still sticks. But it's interesting to sort of square the two up now. That's for sure. As
gotta help your friends.
We are now joined on the hotline by Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald. Hey, Sam. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
Good. So we were just talking about this, and how do you square up the answer that Rhule gave on Saturday about special teams and what they reportedly did this morning, which is add Mike Ekeler as their special teams coordinator?
Yeah, I mean, I think where he was coming from on Saturday is probably from an objective, unemotional, sort of squared up place. Where after the pinstripe ball, I think it was pretty emotional, pretty frustrated with how that almost became, a loss because of special teams. At any rate, I think that they went through a pretty comprehensive process to find a person, and the numbers that Mike Ekeler brings to the table are just, they're too hard to ignore. And so he's going to be the guy, and he'll come back. I mean, Ekeler's a well-traveled coach, and so he's seen a lot of different leagues and a lot of different schemes, and has kind of made the rounds. And in this circumstance, I think he's coming back. I don't know that he knows a ton of guys on Rhule's staff. We'll know once he gets here and kind of reacquaints himself with the media pool, some of whom covered him back in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
He has had a history of, going where he knows guys and guys know him. And Josh Heupel and him worked together in 2004 at Oklahoma as GA, so, he was familiar with Heupel. But I'm sure this was a hard opportunity to pass up, and he can come in here and really help. I mean, there's certainly things he can improve. He can improve Nebraska's special teams on, especially in the return game, and a couple other things. And his guys made 78% of their field goals over the last 4 years. Nebraska made 62, and Tennessee took a heck of a lot more field goals. So he's done a nice job down there with both the specialists and then the return and coverage units. He's been very, very good.
Hey, how big of a deal is like the energy that he brings to the table? You see Mike Ekeler and you're like, oh man, that guy is crazy. How much of that has there been, or how needed is that on Nebraska's staff at this moment?
I think there's some energy on the staff for sure. I think he'll bring a certain fire and a certain energy. That can go either way. Sometimes players love that, and a kicker, I don't know.
Yeah,
some
maybe
kickers
less.
love it.
Yeah.
Some don't. Some kickers are really inside. They're really deep inside their head a little bit, and they want to be left alone. And I don't really know how he handles kickers. That'll be something we ask him when he gets here. What his approach is to kickers. Before a big kick or whatever it is. But when it comes to coverage and return units, I think that fire is really important. And you've got to have. You only have 6 or 7 seconds to do whatever you've got to do to affect a change, and to take what is often a neutral play and put it in your category. And what you do in those 6 or 7 seconds takes not only a lot of execution, but a lot of like violence and urgency and emotion and all those things. And those are things that Ekeler knows really, really well. He was a good linebacker coach when he was here.
Yep.
I thought he made Levante David good in the 1 year that they worked together, and Will Compton, and a lot of the young guys that then played in 2011 and 2012 were his recruits. Alonzo Whaley, Will, others. And so, I thought he did a good job of putting that thing together over the first couple of years that he was here. And then I think he wanted to go and get a DC job, and that was, he wasn't going to be the defensive coordinator at Nebraska when Carl was still there. And then, of course, Carl left, but I think he wanted to, call his own defense. He did that in multiple stops, I think. And then I feel like he can speak more intelligently than this to me than I can. I think he's found his niche as a special teams coordinator. It pays pretty well. It doesn't pay $2 million, but it pays well. And he has been very good at it everywhere he's gone. So he did it at Georgia a little bit, then he did it at Kansas, North Texas, now Tennessee. I think this is what he does. And he's really specialized it and honed it. And Tennessee special teams were terrific. Yep. I mean, you just can't argue how well they did. So his energy will rub off on Nebraska in a good way.
Sam, what did you think of Rhule's how he broke down how they were going to get to 105 and the seemingly like the organization that they had and the thought process that they had that's gone behind that? Feels like definitely he's drawing off of some of his NFL experience. I thought that was a fascinating answer and how they're going to look at it in the first 57, and then you go all the way to basically like the last 5 or 10 roster spots. And it sounds like he kind of used those still as walk-on spots. Like what'd you take from that answer and how that might actually functionally look going forward here?
Yeah. So he said 57, which is basically a 53-man roster plus 4. Which is usually going to be a third quarterback and a couple other things that you want on your 57. And then the next 38, who I think will always be scholarship guys and could be some young players. Obviously, you're going to have some redshirt freshmen, linemen in that group, so on and so forth. And then I think he was basically saying the last 10 are going to be culture guys.
Yep.
And now those guys can be scholarship players too. If you feel like you've got, well, hey, we got this guy over here and he'll do anything we want for him, but he's also a young scholarship guy who's eventually going to develop into a starter. Well, great. But, he also wants some guys on the team that are Mike Ekeler types. I mean, Ekeler was at Kansas State, or Brandon Rigoni, if everybody remembers him.
Mm-hmm.
Players like that. Guys that will literally do anything, that will give you a good look, that are physical, that are selfless, that are tough, probably special teamers. I don't know if there'll be a ton of linemen in that group. I mean, there'll be maybe 1 or 2, but linemen tend to be linemen. And what they're looking for are, Nebraska used to have a ton of these guys. Austin Cassidy, Matthew May, Tyler Wertman, a lot of them on defense, mostly. C.J. Zimmer, although he was a scholarship guy. Tyler Legate, just guys that can do a whole bunch of different stuff on your team and are, versatile and tough and probably from around here, players like that. And so I think you'll see some walk-ons in that group. You might see a young, they might carry an extra running back or an extra defensive back. If for example, I know they like Mekhi Nelson. He's probably moving up to the first group this year, but maybe they found another guy that's like Mekhi, and they want him in that group. And so they go get a guy that's sort of scholarship, sort of NIL, more NIL than scholarship, but maybe a little bit of rev share, but he's on the roster and they like the things that he can do. Probably somewhere in there, versatile, tough, culture keepers. For me, those players are really important because they help keep your culture. On the flip side of the coin, you've got to make sure that you're finding in that 95 players, the other ones, the right 95, who are not only a culture but also very tough and all the rest.
I wonder too, Sam, if those numbers that he gave and the sort of breakdown of it, that will reflect in the revenue sharing plan as well, and sort of how they decide to disperse whatever. Because like you just said, it could come, they could pay players from a whole bunch of different pots now going into next year. It'll just be fascinating to see how they view it from the official like rev sharing, part of things.
Right. So the first part of revenue sharing, just so people know, is always going to be the scholarship. So that's going to be part of the revenue sharing. And that takes up the first chunk. And then there's a whole bunch of money left behind. And that money is probably going to be apportioned based on a rough estimate of what the NFL does. I mean, there'll be some fudging in there. If it were me, Connor, I would invest more in my center in college than I would necessarily some other spots, because I feel like a collegiate center is really important, because that guy is, he might be talking to a 19-year-old. Whereas once you get to the NFL, your left guard is usually 32 and tough and doesn't need to be, doesn't need those things. But at the collegiate level, I feel like your center's got to be sort of a command center, and I would probably pay that guy more. That's me though. I think at the, but you're going to see kind of a rough, quarterback, and then you got to decide, is your number 2 player a lockdown corner? Is it a number 1 receiver, or is it a pass rusher? For me, it would always be pass rusher. I want to be able to, I want to have a player who can make the throw and affect the throw. And then after that, it probably goes for me receiver and then corner, and they can figure all those things out. Then you want an elite defensive tackle if you can find him, and maybe that guy becomes your number 2 highest paid player. Maybe in some years your quarterback isn't your highest paid guy because he's young, or your top player left, and that isn't this year, but 2 years ago or whatever. So they'll have to figure all those things out as they go along. I'm confident that Dylan Raiola is going to be getting the largest chunk of the revenue sharing because he's the most important player on the team.
Sam, before we let you go, what do you think of what do you make of Nebraska basketball right now?
Yeah, just keep rolling it up. Just keep rolling. Like you've got some momentum. The league is good, but it's not great. There's not many teams on the schedule you can't beat. At Michigan State and at Purdue is a different kettle of fish, but those games are over now, so you don't worry about that. You can't change what you couldn't get done on the road. And so now it's at Washington and Ohio State and Maryland and at Northwestern and at Penn State. And, again, they're going to take it one game at a time, but you close your eyes and you start thinking about the crowds they're going to see in those venues, they're going to be very big. And you can take a crowd out of the game. They did it last night. And that crowd never quite got back in it. They never quite got over the hump to where they were a factor. And Nebraska can keep doing that. They're not going to face a Purdue crowd or a Wisconsin crowd again, I don't think. And so there's a chance to go on a run here down the stretch. Keep playing the defense you're playing, maybe hit a few more shots. Bryce is obviously going to kind of take things in the late shot clock. And my hunch is they got to get to 20, Connor. Now, 20 in the regular season would it be 20 and 11? I think you're probably in the thing. You're in the NCAA tournament. It doesn't even matter what you do. Going into the next stage. If they get to 19, maybe they got to get to 21, so win a couple in the Big Ten tournament. But you get to 2021, and you're either in that cool NIT thing that they're going to have now, or you're in the show. And that's where Nebraska needs to be every year. Some years you might not quite make it. Some years you might be a 25-win team. But Fred's team needs to walk into late February saying we're at least on the bubble or we're better. And that's what they're paying him to do. And he does appear to have them right back where they want to be.
All right, Sam. Great stuff as always. Always appreciate you taking the time. Have a good week. We'll talk to you later.
Take care. Bye.
Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald. Yeah, you can check out his rewind today. It is he covers a lot of ground in there. A lot of stuff on which we didn't even ask him about, the financial reports from Big Ten schools comparing, say, Nebraska volleyball to Iowa women's basketball over the last year. Some interesting stuff in there. So go check out Sam's stuff, omaha.com. All right, we'll be back. Let's talk about that Jays win. Ooh.
Jays win. Jays win.
Jays win, but hey, it's a win, right? They got out of there.
The bank was open.
And now they are headed to another very, very interesting week in their pursuit of, yes, a Big East championship. So we're back with that. And, of course, my Grammys update.
Yes.
Coming up on 1620 The Zone. Well, the Blue Jays got another win over the weekend. Saturday at Villanova. How? Not important. Not important.
Don't worry about it.
They have won 7 Big East Conference games in a row now.
That's the important part.
9-2 in the league, 16-6. They are full on chasing a Big East title at this point. Marquette lost over the weekend to the University of Connecticut.
Oh,
imagine doing that. St. John's is a game in front of both Marquette and Creighton at this point, and UConn is a game behind the Jays. I incorrectly said earlier. So if they win against Providence this week, they will be 10-2 in the league. That would tie its best start through 12 games. So maybe the stat was like best start through 11 games, whatever. Since joining the Big East, they also started 10-2 in 2013-14, which would be its first year in the Big East. But they had Doug. Did anything that happened during Doug's time count?
Yes, I think.
Yes, I think it all should count.
Oh, okay,
right. All right. So late game, Creighton's blowing it. The
you're right. You're right.
I'm just saying, man. I just want to take you through this thing. It's not feeling good late in the game. Couple turnovers. Stephen Ashworth gives up the pick 6. And you're like, oh boy, this is just not going to go well. He immediately gives it the pick 6, and then he comes back and he shoots the 3 air balls. But luckily, Jason Green. So afterwards, I know he talked about this with John about how he was paying attention at the Rules Summit this year when the rules expert came in and gave a spiel to everybody. He said they changed it now where you can get the timeout in the air. My question was, having them having explained that during the broadcast. Shout out to Timmy B, by the way, who is really big on wooga. He could not stop saying wooga. Okay. Wooga. Wooga Poplar, of course, on Villanova.
Sure.
He couldn't let it go. He's like, this guy's name is Wooga. I have to talk about it. Anyway, so they got done explaining it, and I'm like, yeah, I still am a little iffy on whether Jason actually had possession of that ball while he was in the air. They showed it once slowly, and it was like, he had it, he was trying to corral it. If you're watching along with this on YouTube, he's trying to corral it like against his chest, stomach area.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see the ball. It's not actively slipping, but it's like toward the bottom of his grasp. But he gets the timeout as the official declared in the air. And I mean, that was close as well. But once again, if you get the timeout on the floor, then you get the timeout. Game-saving play by Jason Green. And
that never came up on the radio, by the way.
What?
They're just like, they're looking at something. I don't know what.
Really?
Yeah.
They were they were looking at whether, he got the timeout or got it in the air or whether he was out of bounds and all those things. So he got it. And you also have to give credit to Jason Green for being the first person in Creighton history to successfully guard Eric Dixon. I mean, incredible. He did an unbelievable job on Saturday against Eric Dixon, who scored just 17 points in the game. And I mean,
6 of them from the line.
It's the leading scorer in the country, right? He had to earn it. And then, of course, he bounces it off his foot on the other end. That was after Stephen Ashworth gets everybody collapses in on Kalkbrenner, and Ashworth is kind of the second option on that play. And he had a pretty good idea that he was going to get it because he was wide open and nobody cared to guard him, which, I mean, honestly,
he had just missed 2 by a lot.
And frankly, he missed that one by a lot. But it hit the top left corner of the backboard just enough to glance in the hoop, counting for 3 Creighton Blue Jay points and giving him the lead 62-60.
So John's doing the play-by-play, and he said it correctly. that the Stephen Ashworth shot bounced off the top left corner of the backboard and into the basket. I had it in my head as I'm, picturing.
Are you listening
John's,
or are you watching?
I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm in the car. I'm listening. I had it in my head that he hit the back left, the top left corner of the square. And I'm like, oh, okay. It just kind of glanced in.
Josh, that would make
Great.
even less sense if you knew that he was buried deep into the corner.
Yes.
That would be even more impossible, I think. That'd be like the Matrix bending the bullet.
It seemed pretty improbable. And then I went home and saw the final shot on social media, and I was like, oh, that's different than I had it pictured in my head.
I mean,
John called it correctly.
And so, of course, in the postgame show, as we predicted before, they were going to kick John out immediately because that's what they do at that building. But I'm sure everybody was just sprint out of that building with a win. And that's a building that you won in a last-second shot by Trey Alexander last year. And you now have won, I believe, 4 in a row against Villanova, which that probably tells you a little bit more about where Villanova is headed and what they've been over the last couple of years. So sometimes, what do we always say with these? I mean, especially long seasons. Third of the games you're going to win, third of the games you're going to lose, and that's the other third that made up that makes up the success of your season. This is probably one they were supposed to lose. This is one from the bad category, right? Because as Max said after the game, I don't know how you turn the ball over 18 times, make 6 of 26 from 3, and win.
And Villanova turned the ball over just 6 times. So it's not like both teams are giving it back and forth. I mean, it was what at halftime, like 32-32, or
I believe that was exactly the 29-29.
Yeah, okay,
29-29.
Like, ugh, gross.
But they found a way as they continue to find a way, and there's obviously little stuff inside of that. Like Kalkbrenner was excellent again, and Ashworth, outside of his wonky last 2 minutes, was generally pretty dang good. It wasn't a great Jemiah game, but he got to the rack a couple times. Ashworth's in foul Ashworth's in foul trouble, dealing with that a little bit as well. And then you didn't get your 5 minutes of steaming hot Isaac Trout in this game, but
it was a road game.
And you had to come in and Ty Davis had to man the ship for a couple minutes. It didn't go well for him, but just surviving. Just surviving. That was Creighton over the weekend. You take the wins any way you can get them.
No need to apologize.
A couple things here.
Okay.
Platcat writes in.
Hi, Platcat.
Can I send my losing Eric Dixon ticket directly to Connor Happer for reimbursement, or does NRG cover the expense? Yeah, you could bill it to NRG.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about Dixon's over, but they finally figured out, it's like, oh, we should just put Jason Green on him, and we'll make that work. Based off of history, that was not going to be the case. So figured that one out.
It
also
all worked.
I got a text about the Jason Green. So somebody said, thought Jason definitely had the ball until he cupped it to signal the timeout, and then he bobbled. That's what I was talking about, where he's at the bottom of his hands kind of there. He was also likely calling for the timeout audibly before he made the signal with his hand, right? Timeout. And then you eventually get to it, right? Like, I mean, once again, you weren't going to go back and change it afterwards. Just me watching it in the moment, I thought, boy, that is really close. Now, many people in the moment, while it was happening, were saying, what the hell? You can't call a timeout in midair when you but I was thinking, did he actually get the timeout in time before he hit the ground? Because we now know, or if you're Jason Green, you knew before that you can indeed do that, because my man was paying attention at the rules meeting this year. Just doing the little things.
Glad I called that guy.
Just doing enough. It's pretty unbelievable. PWP fan writes in, Whenever Creighton shoots that bad from 3 and they lose, that was a team victory. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And frankly, I think you could call it what it is in the last minute. You get a little lucky sometimes too. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen that. I mean, especially with the game on the line. It's one thing to bank in a corner 3. Maybe it's happened. I mean, it happens occasionally. And every time it's like, wow, glad we're up 62-48. That's with the game on the line. That's the game-winning shot, right? And it keeps Creighton in the title hunt, and all that stuff. You don't walk, you run out of Philadelphia.
Yeah, Wooga made that dunk with 14 seconds, and I'm like, that kind of feels like it. Especially after the Ashworth miss.
After the air ball?
Yeah.
And then the timeout. Like,
oh,
I mean,
okay.
I had a fair amount of confidence that they were going to be able to get a bucket on that just because they have Ryan Kalkbrenner. But never did I think that it was going to be a Stephen Ashworth banked in corner 3. Like, I thought it might. And for the ball to end up in Ashworth's hand in that case, after he had that horrible last 30 seconds right before that, it's like, wow. And man, if he would have missed that off the side of the backboard, which it was about a half of an inch away from doing so, then it would have been a tough day for Steven on Saturday.
Yeah, we would have been talking, wow, he was terrible down the stretch, and it cost Creighton a game.
And
they desperately needed it in the Big
it would have
East.
been true.
Yes,
It would have been very true. Now, I don't know that they desperately needed it, but you take any wins, you could get them. By the way, one quick update here before we get to my Grammys recap. Colin Cowherd has tweeted.
Oh, no.
Thank you for all the texts, calls, and concern. Sincerely touching. Rough hour, but I'll be fine. That damn Luka trade might have just overwhelmed me. If you missed it, Colin Cowherd has joined the club of puking on air with Josh Hudson.
I don't like my ally here, but
that's your guy now.
He's
in the club.
We're the normalized puking at work club.
All right, I have a few things to say about the Grammys. Kanye showed up and his wife was naked.
She was wearing something, but it was very revealing.
Not really.
Okay.
Jaden Smith wore a house on his head. I had to stop watching because I had been watching for 1 hour, and 48 minutes of that 1 hour was commercials. And those are my takes from the Grammys. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm an expert.
I was shocked at how many of the people I knew. I was really proud of myself.
People watch award shows, Josh.
Well, no, normally it's like, oh, look, I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. I knew most everybody that was there.
Oh, okay. So you knew Charlie XCX?
I did. I don't know that I've ever heard a Charlie XCX song.
Well, you just heard the
But
name.
I was familiar with the Brat album and sort of like the running.
The lore? The aura?
Yeah.
As the kids are saying?
Yeah.
So you enjoyed the show. I wish I would have seen.
I don't know that I would say that.
Okay. What did you think of it?
I find Chapel Roan to be annoying.
Interesting. She has a lot of things she likes to say.
She was wearing a dunce cap all night.
My wife reported to me that she wanted to talk about how the record labels are not giving the
healthcare.
Yes, giving the singers and songwriters health insurance.
Yes.
That was her thing.
That
was one of her things.
Sort of I was like, Mad Men meme.
That's
what the money's for.
I never heard that before. It's like you make like $80 million a year. You could probably get some pretty good health care.
Now I understand when you're a young, struggling artist like she was in this instance that she was sharing after winning an award. Yes, she did not have the money yet. So it was difficult.
She now has the money, though, I believe.
Yes. I would assume she could get on some Cobra or something.
She could figure something out.
Yeah.
That's the Grammys. What a night.
Good job.
What a night.
Good job, everyone.
I'm sure Josh could add more to the situation.
I could. I don't know what time it is.
It's probably time to take a break.
Yeah. Beyonce finally did it, everybody.
What do you mean finally?
She won Album of the Year.
Doesn't she win that every year?
No, she had lost it 4 times previously.
Wow. Oh, people are mad at her for being a country music artist. Is this right?
I imagine there is some consternation about that, yes.
Gotcha. That's just common, though.
Yeah.
That's been happening for a while.
You don't look like a country artist.
Yeah. People say what they say.
Uh-huh.
Sounds like country to me. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I also think it's fine.
Back with the polls. We'll tell you what to watch next on 1620 The Zone. All right, to the polls at Happer Show on the J-Tech Construction Zone Twitter feed. One singular poll today, just poll.
But it's important.
It is important. I hope you all have voted. Can you read?
Wow.
Now, why did we ask this question?
Matt suggested it. I remember that.
Matt McMaster?
Matt McMaster. Our very own.
What was the context?
Was it he was getting everything wrong about the Kanye facts of the evening and Corporate Dan was correcting
Oh, no,
them?
Kanye. It was definitely something with Kanye. Kanye did like Kanye said bleep all the people who can read.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Which is basically everybody. So
Yeah.
okay, that's why we
Himself
did
included.
it. The answer is, for me anyway, yes.
Yeah.
Josh, how would you vote?
I would also vote yes.
But shocking results into the Happer Show poll question desk. Only 68% of people who voted on this poll question say that they can read.
Wow.
So either we had a very large troll margin today, or 32% of our audience is illiterate. Like Tyler Kolek.
Generally, you don't have to read to listen to the radio.
True.
So
It physically is. It is possible.
Maybe there's.
But I like to think that our the people who vote on the poll questions are at least mildly representative of the population, and I think that number is a little low.
I guess if you're
for the
in
population
your car driving around, you would want other motorists to be able to read stop signs, street signs.
The global literacy rate for all people aged 15 and above is 86.3%. So
Okay.
we're a little behind the global literacy rate.
We'll get there. Don't worry.
Yeah. Those are the polls. Josh, what are we watching tonight?
We're watching Big Monday on ESPN. Got a big one in the Big 12 on Big Monday.
Big one in the Big 12 on Big Monday.
Number 3, Iowa State at number 11, Kansas. 8 o'clock on ESPN. The women have a game, 6 o'clock on ESPN2. Ranked on ranked. Number 10, Duke travels to number 14, NC State. NBA doubleheader on NBA TV, 6:30 tip at Madison Square Garden when the Rockets and the Knicks hook up, followed by a game that might not sound good, but could be interesting. The Orlando Magic are out west to take on the Golden State Warriors.
Yes.
At 9 o'clock. Just a one-game slate today in the NHL. The Ottawa Senators are in Nashville to take on the Predators. 6:30 puck drop on ESPN+. This, I guess, counts. It is Super Bowl 59 opening night tonight. 7 o'clock on FS1 and NFL Network. The big throngs of media who have never before seen a football game will be asking football players questions like, hey, Patrick Mahomes,
do you like Oreos?
Do you like Oreos? What's your favorite kind of Oreo?
Yeah, I really like Oreos.
Hey, Travis Kelce, what kind of movies would you like to be in when your playing in career's over? I think I'd really like to work with Robert De Niro. Yeah, we all would, wouldn't we? And speaking of Robert De Niro, you can watch him in Goodfellas tonight at 6 o'clock on AMC, followed immediately by The Departed. So,
hello.
I mean, that's a pretty good back-to-back there.
Really good. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Connor.
So we're watching tonight. That's the shelf. If you miss anything, 1620thezone.com is where you can find it. Time for the crossover coming up next.
Crossover. Oh, killer crossover. Just crossover. It just crossed him over nastily.
Another victim to the crossovers. Cross him up and sit him down.
Time for the crossover, powered by Everlevel Concrete Repair in Omaha at everlevelconcrete.com. John, Josh, and Nick are all here.
Mm-hmm. Hi.
Hello, Happer. All of them seem happy to be here.
Mm-hmm. I'm a little sleepy. I don't know why. I went to
Little
bed at a
sleepy.
decent time. I'm just sleepy.
My Monday vibe is, I think, just a lot different from everybody else that I know.